June, February photo is for you, yeah, it's about the Dutchess one.
Okay. Oh. Hey, Al,
Yes.
I think I answered all the questions. Since it was
We did have two votes on that one. So, on, see, I think there's some confusion, so we have the 8 polls that are out there. So that's what, you got that, because the 8 polls was scroll, and also, yeah, so we have enough votes on that. And then we did a second one that was just a single vote, and we had 2 votes on that too.
Okay, I think I must have just read it winning the voice. I just figured they didn't have it down. Gotcha.
All right, good evening and welcome to the December 7th regular meeting. If you would, please stand and join us for Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silent prayer. Pledge allegiance. A moment of silent prayer, please. Okay, thank you. All right, we'll call roll. Ward 1 Alderman, Mr. Burke is present. Ward 2 Alderman, Mr. Richardson is present. Ward 3 Alderman, Mr. LaFontaine is present. Ward 4 Alderman, Mr. Charlie Piazza is present. City Attorney, Mr. Malcolm Jones, City Clerk, Ms. Tammy Fayard, and myself. All right, under my comments, first of all, I'd like to congratulate the new mayor and the new board members, and just thank everybody who did run. It was a good, clean campaign, and I like that. So thank y'all for that. A lot of hard work goes into that too. So congratulations, y'all, and welcome aboard. All right, could I get a motion to amend the agenda to include the following items 1, 2, and 3?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion on amending the agenda? Hearing none, we'll vote. Ward 1, Mr. Burke.
Burke, yes.
Ward 2, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward 3, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward 4, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Now could I get a motion? Let's see, I guess we'll leave that motion now. Huh?
No, sir,
No, we'll approve it later.
yes,
All right, Alderman's comments, Ward 1.
Yeah, I'm sorry I was late putting on. So, last few meetings, I think last meeting we discussed the Waveland Veterans Memorial. I guess. That was it. And I just got in front of me. I thought so we got $56,000 for our share from FEMA. We were at DNA Underground was the low bid. I think that's a definite statement that we figured out. But I think in order to make the numbers work, it was removing the stamped concrete and just pouring concrete, and then removing, instead of replacing the railing, using the same one, and it was gonna lower the cost by, I don't know, 10 to 20 grand.
Do we have all that railing?
Yeah, don't we have all the rail?
I think it was a difference of 19,000.
Okay, it was a difference of 19,000. Now, the issue is, regardless of which way it is, we all know that Waveland's gonna have to come up, it's not gonna be paid by FEMA, it's gonna have to come with our own funds. I know it was trying to figure out which way to pay for it. Like, my personal preference, and it's gonna be getting it reallocated from Tidelands, but we have the money in Tidelands, and it qualifies as Tidelands. All we have to do is go and ask them to reallocate, say, 100 grand, I guess $100,000, so we could use the FEMA money first, immediately award the project, and before the project starts, do an immediate change work order to make it the price lower, correct, Malcolm? And then if we get $100,000 and say, can we use it, then we just go reimburse ourselves from entitlement money. Could that be a financial way of doing it without having to go to a general fund?
Okay, so a couple of questions there. The first one, you were asking, can we change it even before we start?
Well, award it, but do an immediate change work order instead, from stamped concrete to concrete.
They don't really recommend that you do change orders at the very beginning.
Okay.
So we're gonna have to look and see how we can go about it. Now, there is a way to award it with the idea that we just won't do some portion of the scope of the work.
Okay,
And reduce it by that way. I know it sounds like a change order, but it's not actually that.
all right,
So that's one part. The second part is, I agree with everything you said. You can reallocate the sidelands
Yeah.
funds. It takes a little bit of time to do it. You have to get one of your senators and one of your representatives from the state legislature to agree, but I think that's probably a formality.
yeah,
And then we can ask them to do it. Usually, the allocation that we were awarded is starting to show up in the month of December, but for some reason, I don't think we've seen that yet. Have you been notified of that? I think they're running behind a bit on that, so we can try to use,
but we have some banked already, so,
yeah, we do, but what I'm talking about is if you're gonna use like the monies that were allocated, depends upon what
Yeah.
allocation you're going for. If it's the year that we just had appropriated,
Yeah.
then we'd have to wait for that to all come together.
I'd just soon use what's already in the bank, because
Okay,
it's one half dozen the other.
we
So-
could,
And I don't know the form, and my biggest thing is, we know we're repairing the thing, so award it to DNA, and then can we work out the financial details? Because I guess the biggest thing is, if we have to go back out for bid and do it, I guess my goal in my head is Memorial Day, it needs to be completely done, but I'm worried that if we have to go back for bid, that's gonna be
gonna
for
happen,
naught, so.
yeah. We're,
And I think we talked about, we're gonna be 60 days in after this meeting, we'll be 75 in. So the latest you can award it would be the first meeting in January.
correct, and so, but I will tell you this, we can, still do it by the, second meeting of the month.
Okay,
There's probably gonna be a need, and I'll talk about this when I come under my comments, we might have to have a need for a special meeting next week. And so, there are other opportunities to go ahead and do this, so I'll need a little bit of time to study to see how we can cover what you just said
yeah,
from a procurement standpoint, and then if we can, then, we can go ahead and award it and move forward.
and then I guess
Sounds
the,
good.
and then the other question, I guess I saw it from walking last week.
Yeah.
They have temporary power poles out there now for the hookups, but we got the bids back sometime in November for, did we budget anything for the electrical from at the park to here? Like,
We did,
cause it came back like 62?
yes.
But-
And we did under the events. We had talked about in the meeting just to divide it out amongst the events, so.
Oh, but the actual, and get the stuff installed? Okay, like, I don't know how long those big, but I think that's something we'll probably among y'all, we need to figure out what to do, cause it's
Yeah,
not,
'cause they're,
it's a big project in your head, but not many companies wanna do it, cause it's not a big project.
Right.
no, and I think the pedestals are like 18 months out, something like that, from what
Yeah,
I
like
understand.
it's,
Just
So,
to order 'em.
yeah,
Just
so
order.
hold the bid. Yeah, alright, that's all I have, thank you.
all right, thank you, sir. Ward 2, Mr. Richardson?
Yes, I just got one thing. Bo, we spoke about the water standing on Spanish Cove, but the reason why I bring it up, the fire hydrant that is covered in black, with a black bag. I don't know if it's in your field or it's the fire department. Mayor, maybe you could, correct me. It's covered up with a black bag, and I don't know where the next fire hydrant is. I think it's supposed to be every 500 feet. Does that have a effect on our, fire rating with that one? I guess it's deemed out of commission right now, being a black bag on it.
None of them needs to be bagged up, so that's on both.
Well, it wasn't budget for this year, so I was planning the first of the year to come to the board and see how they want to proceed, because I have about 9 of them that I need to replace. And they're right at I believe $1,900 a piece.
Do we
When's the
know-
last time you bought like 10, huh?
Well, we bought, I wanna say it was 20 or 30.
Like 10 at a
Year
time,
before
wasn't
ago.
Yeah.
I think we spent 29,000 on them and replaced all of them.
Now, does this fire hydrant, is it inoperable, or is it just leaking at a flange, or?
No, that one don't work. The furthest one down is at Miss Fayard's house.
Yeah, that's,
Across the street.
Yeah.
that's over 500 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they carry 1,200 feet of hose on the
Yeah,
truck.
that's what, but,
They need to be closer.
But you still have one right there at Old Spanish Trail on the corner. That's about 500
yeah,
feet.
pretty close.
Should we have the fire department, look at it and prioritize the list of 9 that you
I
have?
have that list. I've been replacing for the past 2 years.
Yeah, but I'm talking about having them prioritize the list so we'll know which ones have to be done more
First,
quickly.
yeah.
I have that list.
Have they reviewed it and said, this is first, this is second priority?
Yes,
Probably
sir.
came from them.
Okay, okay. So it's prioritized. You
Yeah,
should
and also
probably
I-
share it with the board then.
Yeah.
And also, that's why I brought it up, because I don't know if it's, that water's coming from the fire hydrant, or is it coming from a pipe that's broke?
We're believing it's under the road,
Okay, 'cause
water line.
I know it's been standing a while, I'd like to get that taken care of as soon as possible.
All right.
Thank you, Bo. Is that it, Bob?
That's it, sir.
All right, sir, thank you. Ward 3, Mr. LaFontaine?
Mayor, the only question I have is on the agenda. I know 2 of them was moved to the back of the list. Number 7 on the agenda, is that different than, because we just got the, planning and zoning, so,
7
I
was
couldn't-
tabled, Shane, 7 was tabled. And so the actual one where it was dealt with.
So it
actually
says-
denied was 15. So
Alright.
15 and 7 are
so,
duplicate, but 7 is a table only, so we're not gonna read
so
it
after a
out.
unanimous vote to
Right.
table, instead of
Right.
it saying after a unanimous vote of yes.
Yeah, it was tabled.
That's right.
The motion was actually to move it to the last item on the agenda, which is effectively tabled.
Okay. Mayor, that was,
Same thing for 12 and 13. 12 and 13 was tabled at that point.
yeah, I seen the note on there about that one being moved to the back of the list,
12
but
and 13
I didn't see it on number
became
7.
16 and 17, so you don't have to worry about 12 and 13 as well.
Okay. Mayor, that was all I had. I've already discussed all my things.
All right, sir.
So with those comments, I would suggest when you read these out, Ms. Clerk, that you don't read 7 and 12 and 13 because they're coming up in different places.
Yes, sir, I'm not, thank you.
And just one other thing, Tammy, can we check on that website that's, whenever I click on it, it gives me 404 page not found?
Yeah,
Because
will.
I didn't have these, and whenever I checked it, it was never on there.
Yeah, when you texted me, I think you texted me or
I
sent me.
texted you this evening that it still wasn't on there.
And I went on there and I clicked, I was able to get on upstairs, but my internet with my tabletop might be.
That was it, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, sir, thank you very much. Ward 4, Alderman Piazza?
I had everything answered prior to the meeting. Thank
All right,
you,
sir,
sir.
thank you. I still haven't heard back from MDOT as of this afternoon, Charlie. So as soon as I do, I'll let you know.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you all. Do we have any public comments? Thank you, ma'am. All right, public comments. First one, Mr. Frater.
Good evening, Brian Frater, 400 South Beach Boulevard. Planning and zoning on items 15, 16, and 17. The vote was 2-2.
That was 15, 16, and 17?
The ones that got pushed to the back. Okay. Anyhow, the vote was 2-2. Jim, on item 16, Jim voted to break the tie and voted affirmative. On 17, he voted no. I talked to him, and he said the reason was that it was in his neighborhood. But in any event, on the 2 people who voted no on all 4 cases, and I've talked to them, I'm not sure they're here tonight or not. One is, yeah. And you can correct me if I mistake this. They had no problems with the items. They voted no because the petitioner was not present, and that's why they voted no. I voted yes because I thought I had enough information to make decision. So, anyhow, I just wanted to let you know about why they voted no. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Frater.
And by the way, remember that this is Pearl Harbor Day.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, next up is Mr. Michael Joseph.
First, I want to thank everybody that's on the board and everybody that came out tonight. Coming home has been something special. And when I say something special, it's been coming home about 3 years now. And I've been here since the 18th of October. And I've really been paying attention to all the moving pieces in this city. And I'm happy about what I see. Because when I was out the other day knocking on doors with Mr. Clarence Harris, talking to the community and the concerns of the community, it was interesting because I met a lady that just moved here from New Orleans, sold her home, moved in with her children, and she was complaining about that fire hydrant that me and this gentleman spoke about. So when I found out who the alderman was, I went to him. He had told me it was already being addressed. I was going to go home today because I got some business I need to take care in Texas. I'm gonna leave tonight. But to see that the issue is being the concern is being addressed before I leave here, and that that lady can rest knowing that there's no mosquitoes, there's no larvae, there's no bugs floating around in the front yard where those grandkids are playing, that means a lot to me. I had a chance to sit down and talk with this gentleman's daughter working the polls. I didn't even believe in coming into the court system because how I've seen how some things have happened and some people have been railroaded out and their lives are never impacted after they go serve time in the city or in the state or in the federal pens. But when they come back out, they're treated a completely different way. I've been blessed to dodge the system. All of us make mistakes, all of us do wrong, all of us make choices we're not happy with. But after talking with that young lady, she said this was one of the smoothest campaigns she's ever seen her father be a part of. And the peace that they had at home from this campaign was beautiful. So I love the fact that everybody in here did their part, but we got one problem that I need some help with. There's a generational gap and a wealth gap in this community of a group of children that are suffering. And there's enough resources in this community, if everybody come together, that we can fix that. When I left here as a kid, my water used to be turned off in Waveland. Our lights used to be turned off in Waveland. I left here with a burning desire to go make some money so I can come back and fix a problem that still exists in this community today. It's too many resources floating through this community for anybody to be suffering. Nobody should go through what I went through. And I see it right here in these streets as I walk through the trenches and deal with these children. So I'm asking the officials that have won, whatever you do, make sure the benefit of our children is the top of your agenda. If it ain't, we lose. If we don't save the children, we don't save nobody. That's our future. That's our future. I'm grateful that I came home. You done what you done. You took care of the community. I appreciate it. They got an article on here dealing with realtor signs. I'm in the process of bringing my company home. When I seen that, I needed to stay. Why? Because today, as I was out picking up Mr. Clarence signs, every other sign that was on every other corner for every other candidate that was next to his, I picked it up as well. I got them in my car. We're going to get them back to the rightful owners because that is resources that have been spent by somebody. And it needs to get back to that person. So if they want to use it again, they have the resources. Until we all learn to work together at the hip with the right common goal at hand, this community will still suffer. So I picked them up because if my signs was on them corners, that's my money. $20 a sign, $14 a sign, $6 a sign. So if we all can work like that, it's no reason. So please, whatever y'all vote on about them signs, if I put my signs on the corner, no, they will be picked back up. Because when my company comes in, I run my open houses, I'm gonna take care of my stuff. And I'm gonna take care of y'all's as well. So please, don't beat us up on that. Thank you for that, but there is one other concern. On the corner where my grandmother used to live, I was home maybe about 6, 8 weeks ago. A pothole on the corner of Hart, and I believe it's Morris or Amar Street. A big old hole appeared in the middle of the street, about this big around. It has not been addressed since I've been home. I don't know if anybody else has called, reported it, or talked about it. I wish somebody can address it, because the children riding up down that street can't afford to hurt themselves in that pothole. I thank y'all for giving me a space. Please be fair with the realtors, and whatever I can do to help this community in the midst of me coming back and forward, y'all got it.
Thank you, Mr. Joseph. Really appreciate that. All right, Mr. Matthew Adams.
Matthew Adams, Nicholson Avenue. The Chinichi drainage design project for the city. We have a progress update on that, where we're at as far as completion
Is
on
he
it?
here? I don't. No. If he was here, we could.
I know we had set a date that he was gonna come before the board, and I'm not sure what the date was.
The-
The date has been set for him to come before
We
the
can get him
board.
here at the next
If
meeting.
you'll give me your email address, he actually did send
Yeah.
a preliminary report that I have that I can forward to you.
You may know the answer to a couple more tonight. Does that
Okay.
contract include recommendations for improvements while
It
they're
does.
creating the plan?
Does.
It does.
Have funds been allocated to make any improvements?
We put some in the budget, but it's not,
It's not enough.
it's not gonna be for the whole, but it's gonna be the stuff that's critical first. Like, that was the discussion. The problem is, when the budget was made, we didn't know if it was gonna be
Right.
$10,000, $100,000 for a project, but then we're gonna go look at trying to do the easiest / the most critical
Yeah.
at the same time, you know?
I want to just know if something's been allocated for the next administration to start
Oh, yeah.
working on this.
We have money.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
all right, that's
And
it.
it's al-
Thank you.
Matthew,
Yeah.
also, it's, we're gonna have a packet that we're gonna also have put together with that,
Mhm.
so we can also go look for other funding sources for it as well.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Would you send your
Yeah.
email address to?
Thank you,
Miss,
Mr. Adams.
Tammy, and I'll send you the report?
Yeah, I've got
Okay.
his email.
Okay.
All right, that does it for public comments. Planning and zoning. Tammy, would you take it away?
I will. Vinnie Bonadonna, not sure, owner of the property commonly known as 321 Hillcrest Street, has made an application of a conditional use for an accessory structure over 500 feet. The applicant is requesting to construct an accessory structure of 1,120 square feet to be used for storage. After a unanimous vote of yes by all commissioners present, Chairman Meggitt stated that the application meets all the conditions and criteria set forth in Section 906.3 of the zoning ordinance.
I'll
And,
move.
okay,
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion?
Let's ask, is there anyone here on behalf of this application that would like to speak?
I am, his wife, had emergency surgery yesterday, so.
oh, no.
Yeah, he's okay now. Anyway, I
Are
have
you
a
Miss-
letter
are you
if I
Miss-
need. I'm Mrs. Bonadonna, his
You-
wife. So we're building this accessory building, and we wrote a letter in case,
Yeah.
so just wanted to make sure that we got that approval.
If you want us to just present it, we'll make it part of the record. It's not necessary
Sure,
that you speak,
Yeah, just to
if you like.
give it to who.
Give it to the clerk.
This
Thank
was
you,
my
ma'am.
question about this from the geoportal. Is there a house on it?
We're building a house, so we
So
wanted to
the
put the
accessory
shed.
structure is gonna be there for the house? Or no?
Same time.
Gotcha. That's all.
Yeah, yeah. Is that it?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the permit's been pulled for the house as well?
Like, you can make sure that the foundation is
Yeah,
before this
yeah.
comes up.
Permits already been pulled, foundation, I wanna say they're at rough end stage, framing, yeah. Had a glitch, but it's,
As long as we don't have a shed sitting on a nice.
Yep, yep.
All right,
Gotcha. Thank you, man.
all right, thank you. All right, nothing further, we'll vote.
Burke, yes.
Ward 2, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward 3, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward 4, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bill Ivy, owner of the property commonly known as 316 Hoffman Lane, has made an application for a variance of 1 foot from the right side property line. The request is to be 11.5 feet from the right property line in order to construct a new single-family residential home. Let's see,
It's the third
it's
paragraph.
the third one, okay.
It says after a vote of no.
Oh, after a vote of no from the Commissioner Adams and yes from Commissioners Harris, Frater, and Catalano, Chairman Meggitt stated that the application meets all conditions and criteria set forth in 906.1 of the zoning ordinance and declared the motion passed.
All right.
Clerk, move we accept the recommendation.
All right, thank
I'll
you. Do I have a
second
second?
I'll
All right.
second it.
All right, we'll vote that then. If y'all have any further questions? If not, we'll vote. Ward one, Mr. Burke.
Wait,
We got a question?
We need
You
to
got a-
make sure
you
we
got a hand up,
somebody
Mayor.
at the podium.
Hang on, I'm sorry, I didn't see you, sir. Mr. Ivy.
Yeah.
You just want
Oh, I have
to-
nothing to say unless if y'all vote for it.
Okay, so I guess we need to see if anybody else, if you don't have anything to say, we need to see if anybody else has any comments. Can you,
Mr.
allow them to
You
come
have
to
to
the
allow
podium? Yeah. Somebody in the back there.
Good evening, Brian Faroff, 210 Gulfside. I had the question of the commission on the house that is formed for the foundation is 25 feet 8 inches. It is to be 25. I asked how, if the plans for 25/8 had been permitted. I was told by a commissioner, that's upstairs problem, if they permitted a house for 25/8. I've also heard that the house was permitted for 25 feet, but it's laid out and formed for 25/8. So I think we need to get that a little straight. And if a house for 25/8 was permitted, why wasn't the ordinance variance asked for before the permit?
So I guess we need to hear from Mr. Hayes. Unless you, do you know Mr. Ivy? Answer to that? Okay,
It was permitted 25 feet, 12.5 on both sides.
okay, all right. Okay. Anything else? Anybody else? There's another lady, hand in the back.
Lori Winklehake, 314 Hoffman. It's just a comment, really. I can understand 8 inches is no big deal, but my comment is that somebody can get up here and say that they've submitted something and it's not verified. He got up and said he submitted house plans for 25 feet and 8 inches. The form is already down. Planning and Commission took him at his word, and there just doesn't seem to be any accountability for anyone that can get up here and say anything to anyone, and there's no follow-up or no communication into what actually is going on. So really, that's my comment. I'm not worried about 8 inches. I think the whole process has not been transparent, and I just really hope that the next administration has a little more accountability and take their positions a little more seriously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, please.
So Josh, I'm just trying to get it clear in my mind. It was approved for 25 feet, but it's actually built or constructed at 25 feet 8 inches? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's kind of a deep story, but yeah.
Okay.
The surveyor kind of did a wobbly line, and we're just asking for a variance regardless. He's just asking for a variance regardless, just the closest part of the line that's to the structure, so he said he would go through the process, yeah. So regardless if it was a surveyor on her side or a surveyor on his side that made the error or whatever,
Okay.
just to cover
So the point you're making is that it's actually due to the way the survey is done? Is
what's causing the variance or the discrepancy?
I don't know, I went out there and measured it, and I came up with what he's asking for.
Okay, so according to your measurement, it's 12.5? It meets it?
No, he's asking for the variance, 8 inches difference, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
So he asked for a variance.
The reason we asked for a foot was because there's an oak tree right there, and you can't really pull the line to it. And so we came to the conclusion, let's just ask for the foot to be, it's the house is 25 acres, it is.
So what we're saying, so what we're saying is, it was approved to build the house at 25 feet,
Right.
and the slab's poured already?
No,
No, okay, the form boards are there, so he came before everything, that's what I'm trying to get at, the slab, it hasn't moved forward, so he came before the
Right.
board for a
Right.
variance before formed.
right.
When it was called out that it was 8 inches too close.
Instead of taking it all,
He called me, he said, we need to take it further, stopped everything we were doing, and here we are.
Okay, so if he gets this variance, Josh, is it gonna meet what his saying it's gonna meet, which is,
It's gonna be 4 extra inches.
is it gonna be 11.5 feet, or is it gonna be short of that?
I'm asking for a foot, it's actually 8 inches.
You understand what I'm asking?
Yeah, it's laid out like he's talking about in the variance there, yeah.
So let me read it to you, because I want to make sure that we're doing it exactly the way it says. So the application for a variance of 1 foot from the right side property line, the request is to be 11.5 feet from the right property line. So when he's finished, we go out there and measure, it's going to be 11.5 feet? Is what you're telling me?
Mhm.
Okay. So the whole purpose of the 1 foot is to pick up this 8-inch problem,
8 inch.
is what you're telling me?
It's actually
Yeah.
gonna be 11, it's actually gonna be 11 feet 9 inches, it's not being 11.5.
Well, that's what this says here.
11.10, I'm sorry.
11.10?
Yeah,
All right, well
but
then,
he's gonna have an extra 4 feet.
okay.
Inches.
I mean
4
inches,
inches.
I'm sorry.
All right, well, let's correct it, make sure it states exactly what it is.
Correct.
and-
But just in general, I don't understand how this happened. If you would get a different surveyor out there, I promise you, I have 2 surveys on my house.
It's the same
It's not-
surveyor.
But if you have a different company, it's a different line. I'm just saying, like, no survey I've ever gotten is the same.
Correct.
Yeah, they can be off a few inches, there's no doubt about that. All
I don't
right,
think there's any malice here.
I understand.
All right. Thank you, Josh. Any further questions on number 9? All right, hearing none, we'll vote.
Yes, Burke, yes.
Ward 1, Mr. Burke.
yes,
Ward 2, Mr. Richardson.
yes,
Ward 3, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward 4, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
And this is just
Thank
the
you.
point where the 9 live oaks, they're not gonna go back on that property, huh? Like,
Well,
no, I don't want them to, cause it's small.
No, it's actually not, it's 50 feet by 275 feet deep.
He's already planned to put
I've already,
Okay.
the discussion that came up and the guy that voted no was,
Yeah,
we couldn't come to the conclusion of, they said I had to put 8-foot trees on it.
that, okay.
And we couldn't determine when those trees that I put on it are supposed to be 8 foot.
Gotcha.
When I buy the property, when I sell it, 5 years down the road, nobody can tell me that. And that's why I wanted, the guy voted no, but there was no clarification.
Thank you, Mr. Ivy.
Thank you, Mr. Bill. All right, Sam.
Linda and Michael Hannon, owners of the property commonly known as 136 Lakewood Drive, have made an application for a 5-foot variance in order to construct a porch addition. The request is for the back corner of the porch to have 20-foot step back from the rear property line. Mrs. Hannon came forward to explain the application request. Discussion between the applicant and the commission included the types of shingles, attachment to the existing roof, and posts being used. Chairman Meggitt called for anyone from the audience to come forward to make any comment. No one from the audience came forward. Chairman Meggitt called for a motion. Commissioner Frater made the motion, seconded by Commissioner Harris, to accept the variance request. Chairman Meggitt stated that the application meets all conditions.
Burke moves we approve.
I'll second it.
All right, any further discussion on number 10?
Is there
Here.
anybody here on
Go ahead.
number 10? It's not necessary that you speak if you're the applicant.
Yes, everything's the same way.
Nobody's against it. like that.
All right, Ward one, Mr. Burke.
Burke, yes.
Ward two, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward three, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward four, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
Thank you.
Cindy and Gregory Poindexter, owners of the property commonly known as 105 Venus Street, have made an application for the temporary use of an RV during new construction of their primary home. The RV will be allowed temporary occupancy for 180 days. The applicants have also made a request for a variance on the maximum height requirement for an accessory structure to house the RV. The request,
Burke moves, we take the recommendation,
I'll second.
approve it.
Thank you, Tim. Anybody against this, request?
her smile, you can't turn her down.
I know, right?
For the only question I have for the RV, has the construction started?
No. And the reason why is because we were on hold, we had to get off the schedule because we had to be approved. So now we're waiting, they're telling us it'll be after Christmas before they can even start the building for the RV.
Okay, but our ordinance says that you have to have the foundation down in order
The
to.
foundation is down.
The
The house is built.
The house is basically built on
Oh,
those.
okay.
Yeah.
They just hadn't started on the, accessory building.
All right.
All right, anything else? Thank you, Miss Cindy.
Burke, yes.
All right, Ward two, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward three, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward four, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Miss Cindy.
14.
Bernard Construction Representative Shane Bernard, owner of the property commonly known as 101 Beach Boulevard, has made an application for a variance on the front setback requirement for beachfront property and a variance request for the minimum parking space requirement for a lounge bar. The setback request is for 42 feet variance in order for the front of the structure to be 8 feet from the front property line. This is to preserve a lime oak tree on the property. The parking space request is to have 10 parking spaces under the structure. This meets the parking requirements for the condos, but not for the lounge bar. This is due to the parking bays on Coleman Avenue allowing for public parking.
Burke moves, we
Okay.
approve the recommendation of the board.
I second it.
All right, anything further? If not, we'll vote it. Any opposition? You can come forward, ma'am. Thank you.
Just for the audience, the motion was to accept the variance
Yeah.
as requested.
It was.
Unanimous vote.
And a second.
Good evening, Mary Beth Cooper, 102 South Beach. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you all. I did attend the Planning Commission on this particular project, and I spoke at that time. So I wasn't real thrilled with how that was all handled. You know, I know that you, for many, many years, and all of y'all have wanted to see growth on Coleman. We all do. But I think that the zoning commission, the way after this was put forward by Mr. Shane, was basically, we don't care what you want. We just want you to build. You know, we have stars in our eyes, and you're the first person that wants to build, and so we're granting all these variances, and we're just so excited that you're doing this. That's how that all came across. And so I wanted to speak tonight, like I did the other night, with my concerns. My concern is, yes, this is the first project of many. So when we look at the variances that are requested, and these are big ones, because this project is a big project being put on a small lot, and the lot does not meet the requirement for the project. Should be a minimum of 60 feet, and it is 53.2 width. So we're putting all these condos, which is one thing, but then we're adding a restaurant and we're adding a bar. And the bar is conditional. There's no parking. Now, I don't live right on Coleman, but I do have an interest with congestion. And so my concern was, can we learn from the mistakes of Bay St. Louis? They granted a lot of variances. The Pearl's right up to the curb. Delivery trucks are on Main Street. They block traffic. Parking is at a minimum down there now because the growth wasn't as well planned. I mean, it just boomed. And that's what's gonna happen here. It has to be planned. We have a planning commission. But I felt like they don't care about a plan, they just want people to come build. So when we start granting variances, then those same variances have to be granted to the next person who asks for it. And the next person who doesn't have parking, everybody says, we'll just park on Coleman. Another thing that came up was, well, the mayor had discussed that a lot was purchased strictly for parking, and that we can have a partnership. So they said, so with that partnership, your parking problem is solved, so yes, we're gonna pass this variance. First of all, they said parking lot, but in their minutes, it speaks of a parking structure. Well, parking structure to me, and I might be wrong, would be an elevated, multi-level structure. Well, we had concerns with the height of this project, let alone a parking structure. So the minutes are wrong. There was no discussion of a structure. It was a parking lot, which I don't take issue with. If there's parking, there's parking. But he's talking 9 condos and 10 parking spaces. Not too many families have only 1 car. So now you've got condo parking there, you've got restaurant parking on Coleman, you've got bar parking on Coleman or at the Lighthouse. Plenty of people already use Coleman just to go to the beach. They use the Lighthouse to go to the beach. So my concern with this is, are we really listening? Are we really looking down the road? If we start saying, okay, that's great, whatever you want, just build, then the next person that comes and says, well, I want this variance and this variance and this variance, because he got that variance, and now we've got nowhere to park cars, and we're looking like Main Street Bay St. Louis. We just have to plan, and I don't see where anybody's doing any planning. And everybody's so excited about finally getting something on Coleman, and I'm excited about it too. Because I don't even like going to Bay St. Louis anymore, because it's just too much to deal with. You know, and we have an opportunity here. We have an opportunity to take these variance requests very seriously, and these projects very seriously. Why are we gonna build something that's gonna need this much parking on this tiny little lot, is all I'm saying. You know, so we have to have a solution. And the solution is, well, maybe someday they can park on this city lot because we're gonna have a partnership. Those kind of things need to be worked out in advance before we grant variances. Another thing,
And let me explain that lot. It's, FEMA bought that as a property buyout, and they deeded it to the city. So it's a FEMA lot, so it can only, it's the city-owned, but it can only be used for parking or green space.
and that's fine.
That's it.
But does it require a partnership? Can he say, well, I'm building here, and you've got this lot down here, so I'm gonna tell my condo owners and my restaurant patrons that they can now park on this? What if there's no room? What if it's already taken up? Where are all these people gonna park, is my thing. The other issue is, what he submitted is conceptual. And he stated that it was conceptual because to get his final plan is dependent upon the variances that are granted. So we're granting variances and we really don't know what the outcome's gonna be.
Well-
We don't know if there's gonna be a partnership for parking. And we haven't really considered that we're setting a precedent here, and what is, have we thought through the growth? Are we just gonna say, come and build? So I just have a concern about that, because I do see it in Bay St. Louis. We should learn from that. We should plan better, and we have ordinances. They're in place for a reason. When I built my house, I built according to the ordinances. When I needed a shed, I had to put it where I didn't want to put it, because that's how the regs work. So all I'm saying is, property owners can build homes and follow the rules, but because we want people to come in and build, we're just gonna turn a blind eye to it. I just want more thought in it. I felt like it was just sloughed over. Everybody sitting up there where y'all are sitting was just so excited that we were gonna have this project, and I agree with that, but we can't disregard the ordinances and the need for a good plan, because this growth is gonna happen. And if we don't pay attention now, then we're now setting a precedent for everything that's gonna have to be granted down the road. That's my concern.
Mr. Mayor, I
Thank
got
you.
a question on that. You say that the FEMA lot that is, to be used as parking only, instead of as a partnership, are we able to sell the property
We
to
are.
Mr. Bernard and
We are.
he could use as a parking lot, which
Yeah,
would
and
solve the issue as a
50 feet
partnership?
wide, about 270, I believe, something like that long. But yeah, we can sell it.
That wouldn't,
Yes.
well, I get, and I guess this is just my concern or like, I'm glad you came up and spoke. Having a condo unit, obviously, the only parking issue that might ever arise is the actual parking for the residential use. Though I don't foresee it being an issue, because you have 10 spots for 9 units, and the partnership, I think, Bay St. Louis, or opposed to Bay St. Louis, because you keep on referring to it, opposed to Waveland. When Waveland designed Coleman Avenue, it took into account parking requirements for businesses, because it gave a curb that you're gonna be able to park there on both sides, regardless of what you bid, like, you inherently have parking spots. Traditionally, whenever you have a central business district, and this is an anomaly, some kind of almost a neighborhood one, you're gonna have to say, there's 2 blocks down, you have houses and driveways, but this is a commercial business district. A lot of times restaurants that are not on a highway or off the interstate, they don't have parking minimums, because you're trying to create a walkable community. So 20 years from now, you want somebody to be parking at, Central Ave by the library, walking up and down your street and have a transitional. If you make everybody have parking lots, and I'm talking, this is honestly a thought out plan. If you make everybody eventually have parking lots everywhere, there's not gonna be any movement around the community of Coleman Avenue, so you're pigeonholing yourself. You want to try to make it a walkable area from St. Joseph Street to Terrace and everything in between. So like, I do understand your concern about parking, but it's actually, I think, some of the concept of the design of, I think parking minimums in Waveland and most communities are too high, because we have enough you don't have full parking spots. So a restaurant, inherently what you would want is for somebody to park 2 blocks down and 3 shops, so they're having to walk past 3 other businesses to get to a restaurant that they might go eat at. Honestly, I think that's it. Like, eventually building a parking garage, unless you actually have it, I think that's asinine. You want people to move around and walk. So that's my concern. The residential thing is that, like, there is plenty of parking in Bay St. Louis. The issue is a walking problem, because it's always been convenient to park. Now it's congested. People just don't wanna walk, but you have ample enough parking. So that being said, and the other issue, like, this is a unique lot. And I don't know why 15 years ago, Waveland didn't make it lot line to lot line, and just so you can have visibility. But structurally sound, that's honestly probably the best way for developers too, because you have to maximize your space on it. And if you have blank spaces, nothing's ever gonna get developed. Like, I don't think planning 15 years ago is feasible now for Coleman Avenue, because you're leaving so much space, because inherently, I don't think anybody would have thought you're gonna be in at nearly $1 million before you even get to build a wall to a restaurant or hotel with a structure. Like, I think,
Exactly.
so I think honestly, you're right about planning. I think the planning issue happened 15 years ago instead of now.
Right, but now's the moment. So now, those questions have to be answered. And, my concern is, there's no plan for delivery trucks. When all the condo people and people going to the restaurants and the bars are parking on Coleman, now you've taken up your fire lanes, you've taken up your emergency response, you've created congestion, and my concern is, where's the plan? Where is somebody really looking at this to say, if we do this, then what are we gonna do for the next one, and the next one, and the next one? There's gonna be growth, there needs to be growth, but we need to have a plan, and we, again, don't need to be blinded by this great, wonderful feeling that somebody's wanting to come and build here. I think it's great too, but what I saw at the planning meeting was a lack of planning or concern for any plan. Then when I actually said, let's just try to learn from Bay St. Louis, because there are congestion issues there with the restaurants right there on Beach Boulevard, as well as Main Street with the Pearl, et cetera. There are issues. There are congestion issues, and we need to think about that before we say, well, there's lots of parking right there in front of your place on Coleman, because now that, as people come off Beach Boulevard and as delivery trucks come in and fire trucks try to get in, et cetera, that becomes an issue that nobody's thinking of and nobody's planning for. And that's all I'm asking for. If you want this growth and you want to do it well, then let's really plan. But when I brought that up, I was basically called a liar by Mr. Mike Adams, who said, and he just laughed at me, basically called me a liar and said, I go to Bay St. Louis all the time. I've never been stuck at an intersection because of a delivery truck. I've never had to look, and I said, stop, because everybody knows it's true. The Bay is not what it was 5 years ago. It's not what it was 10 years ago. I moved to this area because of the Bay, because of what it was. Didn't want to live there, liked to visit there, wanted to live here, you know, but all I'm asking for is some planning and some consideration, some real professional consideration for the growth of Coleman Avenue. Because as we have these meetings and these variances are granted, I mean, we make a big deal about a tree and 8 inches, but we don't make a big deal about a big business coming in that's really squeezing multiple businesses into one lot without a plan. And I'm just asking for a plan, because not just that one, but the next one, and the next one, and the next one, it's just gonna snowball. And we're gonna look like the intersection of Main Street and Beach Boulevard.
And Mr. Berger, I completely 100% agree with your scenario. And I was just bringing the parking up for sake of getting a,
Yeah, no, and I guess that honestly.
because I understand where you, as you walk past business, I completely understand that.
Yeah, and I
And
guess.
I agree, I wish it was a totally walking community,
Right.
but
No.
it's not gonna be. People are gonna live on that lot, and they're gonna need somewhere to park. And 1 car per family is probably not realistic.
And I guess the other thing, and truly for policy wise, it's not gonna be a decision made. And I'll tell you, it has to do with a lot of small towns with big booms, when they have growing pains, and it can be with your our neighbors right across. Like, the solution to the problem is one better thing, but like, truth be told, just like Bourbon Street, you have delivery trucks between this time, and you're gonna shut, like that. Hopefully, that's the
get it.
answer in 10 years. Waveland has to say, y'all businesses, this is when your delivery truck, if they park here, whatever, we're gonna ticket them. Like, honestly, I think everybody hopes that's
But
the
that's
answer.
true, and
you
I
know?
get it, and I appreciate, you know, your support, kinda, but, but basically, we have ordinances say delivery should be off-street, that this should be off-street. There is no off-street for this property or this business, either the restaurant, the bar, or the condos. There's no off-street. So, you know, those are in our ordinances, and there are no variances being requested for that. And a conceptual plan, everybody's okaying everything based on a concept when we don't really know what it's gonna be. There was a question about the size of the kitchen. The kitchen seems small for this restaurant. Well, that's just conceptual, because I don't know what I'm gonna be able to do. Well, so what are we granting? I mean, it's the chicken before the egg, I'm not sure.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, just what you grant, because I was in 4 hours worth of meetings with this exact same issue today. A developer, architect, whoever needs the parameter, truly, they need the parameters of what they can build before they do it. Like, we just had an applicant of asking for a variant after the fact. That should have came before. But
Right.
whenever you have someone building a house, business, whatever it is, they need to know what they're designing instead of being out 20 grand, you know, whatever the number
You're
is
right.
before. So that honestly is the
Before.
issue. So it sounds backwards, because whenever you build a house, you're like, this is what I'm gonna go build, I'm gonna go buy this lot, it's gonna work. When it comes to this lot, you're saying, this is what I need to do, but I need to know what I can build, and then go to the drawing board. So what we're granting, they're gonna have to stick to and plan accordingly to it. So if it means making the restaurant, the building smaller, or cutting off 2 units because he doesn't have enough, that's what it is. But you can start, and nobody can start designing until they know the rules they have to, and that's why we're here now,
Well,
asking for the rules.
When I built my house, I knew the size of my lot, and I bought narrow lot plans, because I knew my lot was narrow, and I built to the ordinances. All I'm saying is, we're trying to cram a whole lot into a lot that is smaller than my lot. And I have a narrow home, 1-person home on it, not a big home. So I know the size of the lot, it's smaller than my lot, and I have a lot less on mine, and I'm crowded. So I'm just saying, I just wish we'd pay better attention. I don't feel like it was given the attention it should have gotten, because everyone on that panel was blinded by just being thrilled to death that this was finally happening. And I think we just really need to pay attention, because this growth is gonna happen. And I don't think we should stop in 5 years and say, oh, wow, now look at this problem we have. Why can't we look at it now? Why can't we try to plan for it? Why can't we question what we're putting on these lots and whether or not they're suitable, and what impact it's gonna have on the community? Because it is gonna have an impact on traffic flow and neighbors. But thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, anybody else?
Wait, Mayor.
Shane, ask them on that.
I'm sorry, I couldn't see. Ms. Althea?
My name's Althea Boudreau. I own property at 220 Coleman, which is the second 100 block of Coleman, which is why I'm concerned about parking. The lot that y'all keep talking about that supposedly may work for parking is at 203 Terrace, which is 1 block over, 1 block away from the beach. If that's the block we're talking, that's the
It is.
lot we're talking about.
Wild Bill's.
I had owned the property next to it at 201 Terrace. It's 4 feet above sea level, and when you get a high tide, it goes underwater. So if the city decides to do anything, or you decide to do anything with that, you're looking at having to bring in fill. We're in a velocity zone. How do you do that? I'm just throwing out some facts for y'all to think about, okay?
Thank you, Ms. Althea.
You're welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Just a couple of things I wanted to say, because I wanted to, first of all, say thank you. I thought that she articulated her points very well. She was very respectful. And I wanted you to know that we actually talked about it and took your concerns to heart. And I had some conversations with Mayor Smith as well as Mayor-elect Mr. Jay Trapani. And we had talked about, I think the lot is 50 by 243 is what we had talked
Something
about,
like that.
something like that. So on an angled parking situation, we could probably get somewhere between 40 to 45 parking spots on that property. And the reason why I bring that number up is this. I don't think we're actually gonna need the 10 spots. We are gonna shrink the size of the indoor part of the bar and grill. So we probably don't actually need that many, but let's assume that I, as the first person, asked for 10 parking spots. And then hopefully 3 or 4 more businesses come and they need a 10, and they need 10, and they need 10. Then at that point, should it get to that point, that we could say, and I had these conversations with both of them, that, hey, why don't the 4 business owners who have benefited from this variant, why don't the 4 of y'all go in, split the cost to limestone the entire the property for us, or maybe the city can help as well, and that would kickstart that parking lot. Also, the mayor had said what they really would like to do is to do a parking garage. So I'm open to either or. I also just, and I know this has nothing to do with this, but for the record, I also own Arlington and Terrace, which I plan to develop, and that's 100 by 200, and there's going to be ample off-street parking for overflow on that once I get to that point. But that's not for this discussion. I just want to let you know that I took your concerns very seriously and that we discussed it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shane. All right, anything further?
No, sir.
All right.
Just for the record, can you reread that motion, Mayor? It's been a while since we had it.
Would you reread that motion, Tim?
Before we reread that motion, Mayor, Shane, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
When you spoke months back,
Yes, sir.
I asked about an elevated walkway over the beach road.
Yes.
Do we intend to put one in there?
No, it's economically, it's not feasible, and I had a preliminary conversation with the mayor. I'm not even sure that we're gonna be able to do it, but with the state owns the road, correct? Is that what we talked about?
It's a highway.
Yeah. So I don't think it's a feasible.
I thought the county, the state abandoned it and turned it over to the county years
Well, it
ago.
was never, from my knowledge, and the mayor could speak better than this, it was never meant to go over the road. It was gonna go sideways across from Coleman to Terrace, if I'm correct. Maybe you can help me out with that.
You're talking about
The elevated walkway we
Oh,
originally talked
boardwalk,
about
yeah.
for TIF bond, yeah.
Yeah, it was gonna be east and west.
But it was never intended to
No.
cross the road because I don't
Not
think we can
that.
get permission for it.
All right,
Thank you, Bob.
thank you.
Thank you, Shane.
Bernard.
Anybody
Cons-
else?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Tim.
Bernard Construction has made an application for a variance on the front setback requirement for a beachfront property and application for a variance on the front setback requirement for a beachfront property and a variance request for the minimum parking space requirement for a lounge/bar. The setback request is for 42 feet variance in order for the front of the structure to be 8 feet from the front property line. This is to prepare a line oak on the property.
That's live.
Oh, live, oh, okay. That's okay. I know, I kept thinking, what's,
I was gonna ask you what's the line up.
I didn't know, I'm just reading. The parking space request is to have 10 parking spaces under the structure, This meets the parking requirements for the condos, but not the parking for the lounge/bar. This is due to the parking bays on Coleman Avenue allowing for public parking.
The motion was to accept.
Yes, sir. After a unanimous vote by all commissioners present, Chairman Meggett declared the motion passed.
I just want to have a motion in a second.
Yeah, we already
Okay,
You
I'm
do.
sorry.
You already had it first.
We already have.
Already got it? All right.
All right,
Alderman
we'll
Burke
vote
and
it.
Alderman
Ward one, Mr. Burke.
Burke, yes.
Ward two, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward three, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward four, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, gentlemen, ladies. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shane. All right, Tammy, on
Yes, sir.
15.
Darren Duett, owner of the property on Hoffman Lane, has made an application for a re-subdivision and variances for new proposed lots. The proposed lot split will create 5 new buildable properties. Proposed parcel needs a 100 variance on the street frontage, as it will share access easement with proposed parcel B. Proposed parcel B needs a 50-foot variance on the street frontage. Proposed parcels C and D do not need any variances because they both meet requirements set forth in zoning ordinance number 349. Proposed parcel E needs an 80-foot variance on the street frontage. After a vote of yes by Commissioners Adams and Frater and a vote of no by Commissioners Harris and Catalano, Chairman Meggett broke the tie with a vote of no. The recommendation is to deny the application.
So we should probably hear from the applicant first. Are you the applicant?
I'm Darren Dewitt.
Yes.
Do you, and just by chance, do you have a large survey with you? Mine's harder to read. That's you.
It's kind of, when you read off that off, it's really kind of.
No, I had it, it's just hard for me to see.
What it is that I'm really asking for here, okay?
So where's the house next door to you? The house is, they have a house here. This is the corner of the road, correct?
This is Saunier.
Yeah. This is the corner. This is a house that's being built here, and this is one that goes street to street. There's a pool right here, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Right,
Yeah.
right on this property.
I was trying to get my bearings correct of where everything was gonna go.
That's correct.
So you have a landlocked,
I have a landlocked lot, so parcel E is landlocked, where she's requesting
Yeah.
a 100-foot variance, there's a 20-foot.
Is
I
that-
call it driveway, this is my property here, okay? This 20-foot driveway, easement, whatever you wanna call it, I have a survey from 1973, so all this was put in when this subdivision was put in to allow access to this property back there, okay?
yeah.
So, you know, it's not like there's something secret going on here. This has been in place forever, since the subdivision was created.
So the landlocked one, while we on that one,
Yeah.
you're asking for parcel E to have a 20-foot,
I have a 20-foot driveway here
Which-
that accesses the lot.
It's not an easement, he owns it. Okay, John, this is my question.
Shane, excuse me, look for this, guys, if you'll look for this survey, the colored one.
yeah, his is just like that, but it's a lot
Yeah,
bigger,
it's
we can
bigger.
see it better.
Yeah, so, all of this is one tax parcel. This is my question with this lot. It's the only concern I have is this lot. I mean, honestly, that's the largest concern I have with this lot. Your front yard, cause it's not landlocked. If that was landlocked, you get to choose your front yard. His front yard is Hoffman, and that is 90 feet from here to here.
So 90 foot long here and 500 something feet this way.
So he could build a house. This is where I can't figure. He's gonna have to build a house this way, and this is why I'm concerned. I was busy today and I had a lot of neighbors call, I did not call someone back, I'm sure we're gonna hear from them later. But I guess my concern is, according to our zoning, you could build a house right here, 15 feet, or you could go face whatever, like, this being, there's no guarantee to what is. The only way I feel is this lot makes sense is because it's a not, of how the road is somehow acquiring this, so that is a lot. Like, if I'm a neighbor here or here, it's going to, in my opinion, it's gonna screw up everything. And I know it's the largest lot, but
So this landowner right here, he already has a house built right here, and part of it comes back on this piece of property here. This lot has been in existence forever, since all this was built. This is lot 40, and these go number up, lot,
So,
even higher.
so he's not creating a new parcel.
No.
It's an existing parcel.
It's existing in this form. It's just he's trying to split it to utilize 5 different buildable areas. The reason for the variances is because when you create more than 5.
He's shaking his head no.
So, I'm not trying to split this lot
no.
No,
into
no.
5.
No, but this was all one. This was all one tax parcel.
Well, no, well, this part back here and this,
Yes.
it's not all one tax parcel. There's different parcel numbers for each one of these pieces, okay?
Right, but originally, because when you split it, Mr. Dave told you that you could, that was wrong.
Well,
So it has been split, yes, but this is to get this on the record of the split. So we are basically saying that it is still one,
okay,
and you're creating 5 new buildable lots,
okay.
okay?
I'm modifying
Yes.
a couple of lots.
Modifying, but yes.
I'm not
Yeah.
creating new ones, I'm
No.
modifying.
You don't
Right.
create new lanes, but if lot lines change, it's considered creating a new lot.
Yes,
Okay.
and so in the ordinances, when you create new lots, you have to have that 100 foot of street frontage and the 12,000 square feet.
But he's landlocked, so he doesn't have
This
street
one,
frontage.
well, it's not landlocked because it is part of this
Well,
parcel
it's
right
got that
here.
25 foot that goes
It's
out.
25, right.
But it's got
But
properties
it
all the way around it.
basically landlocked, yes, with that 20-foot easement, well, 20-foot access, I don't wanna say it's an easement because it is part of that parcel. It's a 20-foot access.
So what's the ask on that one?
That's an 80-foot because he does not have the 100 foot of street frontage, so it's an 80-foot variance.
And that's just for that,
Just for this one.
that
pit.
25 foot,
Just, yeah,
just for the driveway?
yes.
Okay.
And now, if you look at this one, it's supposed to be orange, but my copier doesn't, see orange apparently. This one does not have any street frontage, and he is saying that he is going to create an easement for both deeds, so that this one will have an easement access off of this parcel. So
Okay.
that's why this one needs 100 foot of street frontage, because it literally does not have any street frontage.
So basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna use the 25 foot as a driveway to access this back here?
Yes,
But since it's the parcel that actually touches a street,
yes.
okay, I got you.
Because,
All right, so that's that one.
Is this one?
Well, he was back.
I was looking, I was on the other one.
Yeah.
because how this has probably got convoluted from over the last 100 years is that piece of property right there, that pink, was part probably of a beachfront lot
It was way in front.
originally.
And you're probably right, but it got sold off, the beachfront got sold off, so there was no access from the beach, and it was probably gonna be divided into tiers, which is typically done along beach lots, tier
Right.
1,
Two
tier
more
2,
back.
tier 3. I didn't do that, okay?
Right.
I inherited that problem, I guess.
Yeah.
No, you got one. You
So,
got one more.
when I purchased this property in August of 21, I met with Mr. Dratz several times to discuss exactly how I should divide this so that it wouldn't create issues with the neighborhood and with the zoning and planning and with the alderman and the mayor, okay, when I was coming to vote. Ms. Conrad can verify that I met with him several times, 30 minutes to an hour, to discuss this, to make sure it was done right, so there wouldn't be issues. But here I am. I did, Mr. Prater, I believe, I heard you make a comment that commissioners, when they look at this, no one was against it, for the variance, they were against, the two voted no, was because I wasn't there.
No, that's not correct.
Is that not correct?
Am I available to come up?
Well, in a second, Mr.
Yeah.
Well, no, well,
Hey, we'll get him up. Hang on.
Well, let's say if there's any more questions for him not, then we can go ask them.
Well, let's just keep on going with this. All right, so parcel A is the one that needs the 80 foot. proposed parcel B needs a 50-foot. And this is too small for me to see, so which one's parcel B?
They'll show him,
This is A, this is the 100-foot street frontage.
But that's not what it says. Proposal parcel A needs a 100-foot variance.
Yeah, the A needs a 100-foot variance, that's this one.
Okay,
This is Saunier
All right.
Street, it goes to Nicholson.
which one's B?
This is B.
This is,
C
there's an
and
existing
D.
driveway here
E.
E?
coming into this property. I had to
All
come
right, so let's,
forward, yeah, and
C and D don't need any variances, they meet the requirements, they meet they got the 100-foot street frontage and they,
pond here.
yes,
okay.
they're good.
So what do we need on A?
A needs 100 foot of street frontage because it does not have any. Parcel B comes in front of it. So parcel B needs a 50 foot because this is 50 foot wide. That's 50 foot wide. They will share an easement driveway that will be recorded on the deeds. That's something civil that he will do.
So this will basically be converted into an easement?
Yeah,
Okay,
yes, basically.
all right.
And then this one needs the 80 foot because this is actually 20. It's 20 foot wide.
20 or 25?
20.
In my opinion,
Okay.
traffic don't help it.
They have no access from the beach.
Can't hear what's going on.
Yeah, you gotta speak into a microphone.
We cannot hear what's.
You gotta speak into a microphone.
We have a.
All right. Can we, have y'all seen this, the big, can y'all, because this is too small for me to see, so I don't know.
That's the biggest
Public,
copy I can
I didn't know if that was
I
put
know, I
up
know.
for the public to review or what as well.
so,
All right, so I've got,
I've got more of those. I've got actually 2 copies that you gave me upstairs if you want me to go run and grab them. That way we have.
so I'm just letting you, this is for hearing. My issue with this is, originally, this was all probably one lot, one subdivision. The stuff in the pink, all these lots are buildable lots, and people probably own them, and it's all together now. So whenever, in my opinion is, or this is just my thought, if you bought this lot saying, I'm gonna have one house, now I think you're drastically changing the neighborhood, knowing that there could be a house somewhere in this parcel one time. And me personally, I wouldn't have wanted to invest in this house or any of these lots. And then Waveland says, hey, you can go and take that whole piece right now, chop it up, and you can have a house in your backyard here and backyard here. Like, I'd be one of that.
So what am I supposed to do with this piece
Like-
of property if I can't put a house on it?
Like, and this is probably why, if this lot, and I don't know when you bought it or whatever else, like, this would probably be one of the properties that's set on the market, where those close to the beach, it is a hard lot to develop anything on, because the only way you could do it, you're gonna have a lot of wasted space. There's no 2 ways about it. Like, there's just a lot of wasted space because of our zoning. Like, that's just the way I personally see it.
So, if you take the zoning ordinance literally, because I don't have 100-foot access to the street, and then you're denying me the access or the right to use my property.
But okay, so you would have you do have 100-foot access to the street, but you can't, no, you can't,
Where can I have 100-foot access to the street?
you combine those lots. So you have,
None of this went to any street.
that goes to the street right there, and if you combine that lot and that lot, that's 100 foot.
So Mr. Drass told me that this was fine, this was no issue for me to do this. This was done under the direction of the planning manager, I guess, Mr. Drass, whatever his title was. This is not something I made up. This was in conjunction with him and at the advice of him. I didn't do it. He didn't. He told me these would be conforming, this would be fine. This was put there for the purpose of having access to this lot. What am I supposed to do when a man tells me, a representative of the city tells me that this is fine, you can do this, and there won't be an issue?
I was not at the meeting, and like, that's why we're here now, is just decide what can be allowed, and I'm like, and
So how am I gonna use my property? How are you denying me access to my property to use it?
I just gave a solution that
That's not a solution now. These lots are sold. I don't own these anymore.
but if it's not, so if that's,
I was told this, I did not need a variance for this by Mr. Drass. I I wish she was here, 'cause I don't like speaking for him, but she can attest. And I believe whenever he told me that, I asked her, you heard him tell me that I didn't need a variance on this. Do you remember
But
that?
I remember you coming to talk to him, and y'all had talked privately, y'all had stepped in his office numerous times.
No, you were
But
20
I-
feet away. I
I
know you
know,
weren't.
I know.
He didn't have an office.
But that's beside the point, like, we're at now that these are not not arranged the way they are now. So, and that's just mine, it's not the yellow and the orange lot, it's that pink lot that I have issue with. And I think lots 1 through probably at least 8, but probably 1 through 8 would probably, or 17 through 8 would have an issue with too.
Which ones? Who would?
Any person who would own any of those.
You would be accessing your property from here.
No.
No, he's gonna be.
Everything in color is its own property. So this was all together, these two were not. He bought these two, he split it down the middle, so this one is now all one, this is one by itself. So he has sold these are fine. These meet both requirements, the 100 foot of street frontage and the 12,000 square feet. But creating more than 3 lots is the reason for the re-subdivision. I don't know why it was said that he did not need a variance, because when he brought this to me and I saw this little frontage, I knew right off the bat he was gonna need variances, because it doesn't matter where the property is, how it was before, but by creating more than 3 lots, you need that variance. And this one too, this one has no street frontage. I have no idea what he was thinking. And I'm sorry, I know he's not here to defend himself, and I don't understand his thinking, I don't.
So, again, I would like to understand exactly what Mr. Prater said earlier about what the planning commissioners voted on.
That's what they told
They told you,
They voted no because you weren't there.
because I wasn't there. Okay, I live 420 miles away. Okay, I live in Menton, Alabama. I used to live in Waveland, Mississippi, up until September 15th of this year. I wasn't at the planning and zoning commission meeting because the advice I had or had been given from Mr. Drax was that this wasn't an issue.
Create this one right
But
here as a right of way.
I saw the minutes of what happened at
Portal that I was able to find in my
that's why I'm
documents.
here now.
It is currently split now, it has splits in it.
This is the note from
Because
Mr.
of-
Drax, where we talked about this stuff and
Yeah.
what he told me to do. And there wouldn't be an issue. This was dated November the 9th, 21, about 2 months after I purchased that property. And I went to talk to him about what I needed to do to divide this property up so that there wouldn't be issues. That's the direction I had from the man that I thought was in charge of making the recommendations and basically telling y'all what was the law.
This has never come before the board, like I said, I don't know his thinking, but Mr. Dave gave him these directions as to avoid going before the planning and zoning board to request variances and re-subdivision.
But this what's in front of us is never signed off on. Like, there's no,
We have never signed off on
so
it.
it never got filed.
Why would you need to,
It's been filed though, he brought this
that's what I was
to the
wondering,
county
why
and
would
it
you need
has
to
been
sign
filed.
off though if it met the square footage?
Because you don't have the road frontage, so I don't know why.
That's what I'm saying, I don't know what the reasoning was, I don't know what happened, but even the fact that you created more than 3, you should have come before the board for a re-subdivision and get it signed off on. I don't know what Mr. Davis was
Okay,
thinking.
that's
I know,
not
I
my
know.
decision to make.
I know.
That's the direction that your city planner or zoning man should have made the
Right.
make. That's not my fault.
Right, because in the zoning ordinance, it clearly states that if you create more than 3, even if they're conforming, even if all of them had 100 foot of street frontage and 12,000 square feet, the zoning ordinance says that if you create more than 3, you have to come for a re-subdivision or replat and have the city sign off on it. So again, I don't know where Mr. Drax
Whenever I
was
went
thinking.
down, when I went down, believe he went and called. I can't verify it, but I think he called Mr. Dratz, or either you or somebody, and asked, has this been okayed or whatever?
Yeah. No, as of June of this year, Mr. Duraz was still the zoning official, but like again, I can't speak on what he was thinking. I don't know.
Can I make a comment? Just to intersect for a second, but, if, this is just a comment, but an option. If I look in, Dave's files, if we look through Dave's files and see if he has some written,
But it's not,
comments on this meeting with him, and then come back to the situation, because, I mean, depending on what you're voting,
No, no.
fine, but I'm just letting you know.
but the answer, the question, that you have to be approved, you have to, in order for that to be filed at the county.
Well, he would have had an interpretation, is what I'm
No,
trying
no,
to
yeah,
say.
but in order
If he
for
comes
it
up
to-
with a proper interpretation of the zoning ordinance,
But in
then we
order
have
for
something to
that be
stand on.
filed at the tax office
It's just
and
a comment.
Chancery Court, it has to be approved.
I understand.
And since our ordinance does, as it's stated, it has to come before the board. So unless there's
Yeah.
meeting minutes that say it's been approved,
Yeah.
the answer is no, it's not been approved. I don't care what anybody will say. Like, it just doesn't exist, because we speak through our minutes.
The fact that it's filed, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter to you?
Like, no, it hasn't been approved by Waveland. Like, it hasn't.
You know, somebody at the county called and said, is this okay?
It hasn't been approved.
And this slipped through the cracks, and I'll just say it, Mr. Dave dropped the ball by giving you that, information.
So I don't know if you wanna go talk to, like, I got all my
Well,
questions
and then
asked about.
and then to really, to make it that much worse is, those two parcels are sold that are, green and yellow. So now you have a parcel sitting there with basically no access, because you've gotta have the street frontage. The lot itself is big enough, but there's no street frontage big enough. So that just compounds that much more, because you can't say, like, along the lines of what you were saying at the beginning was, okay, we'll just make that one big horseshoe lot, basically. That way you get your street frontage out of the lot that's sold, but you can't do that now.
I'm more than happy to sell the property to any of the landowners. They can put their money together, they can take it, divide it how they want, at $1.50 a square foot, which is way cheaper than any property that's close to the beach, probably that you can find there. And add to their existing lots if they want to. Any one of them want to take it and try to divide it up amongst the neighborhood.
Sean, which lots are sold?
On the little map, it's the blue and yellow.
The blue and yellow, so we're talking about,
The two that are
C and D?
C and D, yes.
C and D,
The ones that did not need any variances.
all right. And so, those were already sold to somebody else, they're owned by somebody else?
Because of what Mr. Dave had told him, had advised him,
Mhm.
he filed it with the county. He did everything that he was told to do, and under the assumption that everything was fine, he sold those. So
Okay.
they are sold as pictured here.
Okay, so, and then on lots A and B, you're asking to divide it like that now?
Yes, correct.
Okay, and so, A would have to have an easement across B, correct, to get to the
And
public
that is what
road?
he's planning on doing, yes.
Okay.
But Sean, can I ask a quick question? Wasn't that rezoned twice? Wasn't it, because I went to GeoPortal and I'm seeing something totally different on the GeoPortal than on this.
Hey, would you come up to I'm sorry, in order for the recording to catch you, for the minutes. Sorry.
State your name too, please.
I'm Stephanie Asherle. I'm at 226 Hoffman Lane, and the pink is right behind our home. And when we purchased our land in 2017, in good faith, we bought it knowing that that land was landlocked. And so,
You're talking about the lot that's designated as Lot E?
correct, the pink.
Yeah, so it's
we-
not landlocked, there's a strip of
Well,
land that comes to it.
correct,
Okay.
but, so we built our home as far back as we could.
Understand.
And so I have walked that piece back behind my house, and there, it's like a natural drain that goes down, so water and flooding concerns me. And, there's no fire hydrants back there.
Why would there need to be a fire hydrant on private property?
If you're planning on building a home, shouldn't you have to have a fire hydrant near in case there's a fire?
There's a fire hydrant about 100 feet from the driveway there.
And that's gonna get all the way back to, our lot is 269, so,
It's every 500 feet, that's what it amounts to.
so,
They can pull hose at, what is it, 1,200 feet, Mayor?
They carry 1,200 on the back of their truck, each one of them.
I'm quite certain there are probably quite a number of houses in Waveland that are more than 500 feet from a house, from a fire hydrant.
Right.
I can point to one adjacent to this property that's more than 500, probably about 800 by a straight line, but having to go around the pond, it's probably closer to 1,000 feet from a fire hydrant.
So-
On the road.
now that I have you here, what were your plans for all this property that you purchased? You bought all that, you say you live in Mentone, Alabama.
I used
So-
to live in Waveland up until September the 16th.
Okay. Well, I saw you coming and clearing your land off quite a bit
Yeah.
and putting all your stuff on the street, so I didn't know if you lived out here or anything. I don't see our structure.
No, I don't live on it. I was planning to build a house there, but now I've bought a house in Mentone.
Uh-huh.
So I'm not gonna build a house.
So you're just selling all this land now?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that against the law?
No, I'm not against anybody, but
So your
for
point
having
is
some,
what?
pardon me?
So what's your point? I'm selling it. I don't
All
live
right,
here.
Mayor, we need to.
Yeah.
I think
But
she
the-
was just asking a question, sir.
Yeah, and,
Mayor.
but the thing
All right.
is,
Yeah,
if,
we need to move on.
I understand that, but real quick, I know that I have an issue if we have these variances and we keep changing them, why do we have the variances? If we keep changing these, for the families that live here.
In my
You know,
opinion,
my husband served in the military for a long time, and we decided to retire here. I grew up in Covington and spent many summers here. I love this area. And we've already built our home, and we have the nice bird sanctuary that is right there. And so that's my issue. I don't begrudge progress, but when we're already there, and then somebody from out of town is wanting to sell something and build things back behind us,
I don't
That's-
think the man said he was from out of town. He said he lived here at one time.
right, but he doesn't live here right now. What now?
That's it.
Okay.
So, and I guess what it
All right,
boils
let's don't
down.
get off track.
So what it,
Anyway, that's all I
okay,
have
see
to
if there's
say.
anybody else, whatever.
Thank you.
Let's hear from the rest of the objections, Mayor. Anybody else? Is there anybody else that would like to speak to the application so we can move on? We have other items on the agenda. Anybody else? We'll close the record. Okay, nobody else. All right, so at this point, I think it's up to the board to discuss and decide how they want to vote.
So I guess what it boils down to is, we're all aware that that has to come before the board and get subdivided. There's no way I would ever say that, I don't care what neighborhood, that you go and take lots that have access, and then we're gonna, and to give it any owner the ability to cut off 100-foot access in order to have a lot in the back with a 20-foot easement that has it, like, I don't care what subdivision this would ever been in, there's no way I would say no, because it affects how many other property owners along the way. How, obviously, there was a miscommunication, misunderstanding somewhere along the way, which doesn't, in my opinion, make it right for us to approve it just because if I'm obviously you have for one owner, but I don't know if there's any other houses built in front of that now, but,
That's what was stuff he was just saying.
oh, besides hers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if there's two houses.
I think hers and one more, I think.
And then one next to it, but like creating that lot in mind would honestly greatly impact the way of the neighborhood. So yes, you do have 50,000 feet of land that needs to be connected to somewhere that has 100 foot. So like I'm completely against this, I guess even furthermore so, and I guess has even more of a question of the orange lot, whatever that is, and if this is the official survey, I know it says it needs to have an easement to it, but there's no easement even spelled out on there, so
Yeah, well, that's done civilly, because an easement is filed with the deeds, so whoever he sells them to, that's gonna be something civilly done. That does not get recorded here.
I disagree.
no, because if it's
I
not on the
disagree. It
official
needs to
survey.
be in the legal description, the easement should be included.
Right, it would be, if I sold those two properties, it would be in the deed that the orange lot has access to their property through the property of
B.
lot B or whatever.
Right.
But it's legal.
It should be part of this as well, but we can include that because of the fact that it says shared easement, so it's, the representation is there. Can I speak about this?
Yes,
I've been
please.
pretty quiet. All right, so basically what it amounts to is, all of this property that I see is like this, right, Sean? One big lot.
That is an old geoportal. I looked it up recently. It doesn't even reflect this that was filed. I don't know what they have on geoportal right now.
So that's what it looked like according to somebody at some point, right?
That is what it was
All right.
prior, yes.
All right,
What they have split on geoportal currently,
So he has,
that's not it.
he has this long lot,
yeah,
this one,
yeah,
this one,
yeah,
that one,
and those two.
yeah, and that one, and then something,
All right. So what I was getting at is apparently he's already sold what he has designated as lot C and D,
Yes.
the yellow and the blue lot. We're
Yeah.
not even talking about that tonight.
No.
They're sold.
They're sold, they're done.
And they were already, two, non-conforming lots from a subdivision from years ago with a little addition to the back.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, they
So-
only gained a little bit on the back, but yeah,
So-
they were conforming lots beforehand, yes.
Right, so because of that, the only thing really that's in question is whether or not to allow Lot E to be a little longer, or as he has it drawn here, but he's already sold it, so practically speaking, they've divided and created Lot E. E exists,
Pretty
all
much,
right?
yeah.
So the
They
real
separated
question
it out.
is whether or not you wanna go ahead and allow A and B to exist as two separate lots. One way to look at it is, if it's gotta have frontage to the road, then A and B need to be one lot, not two lots. That's one way. And if you don't wanna grant the variance, then that would be the effect of it, okay?
so we have
Y'all
lot
follow
E
me on that?
regardless. So Malcolm, you
Yeah.
said we have lot E regardless.
Yes, because, I mean, apparently other owners already own it, unless you wanna go ahead and drag them in here and try to cancel those deeds, and somebody's gonna have to go to court and do all that. It's done. You've sold it, correct? And they've recorded it at the courthouse. It's done.
I don't see how's that even legal. Like, if I can go get a survey done of any legal thing, and somehow somebody at the court, at court,
How long ago did that happen, the sales?
One was sold in July, I believe, and the other was sold in August
Okay, of this year.
of this year.
And so they've gone, the transactions have occurred, the courthouse has already made they recorded it.
They have deeds.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about at the courthouse, they've accepted these deeds and they've recorded them, right?
Yes.
It's there, Aldermen,
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah, they went through the title company, it's been reported, yes.
Right, so, Jeremy, what I'm getting at, it's really the only thing that's in question is that little bit that's on the backside of Lot C. Notice Lot C is actually two lots. You see that? Lot C is actually two lots of an old subdivision. You see it?
Yes.
All right, so that was non-conforming years ago when that was platted, so that's allowed. The only thing they're doing is adding that backyard, if you wanna call it, that section right there, right?
Yep.
That's what Mr. Grant
And then the other part on D is the same thing, also two lots already of the subdivision, and just that back part. Right, so if
But
it's
if you
sold,
said-
it's sold. Now, I know what you're saying, that promotes people to go out there and actually to do self-help re-subdividing, and that's not good. But at this point, I mean, short of going ahead and telling these new owners that they have, lots that are not properly subdivided and drag them into this. I mean, we can't do this with just him. You follow me? It's what's gonna take if we're gonna try to turn back time
I guess, and then, I guess it's the same thing of.
from a practical standpoint.
Yeah, and I guess it's the same thing of what we've been doing with 8 years, which we've had people that say, I didn't know, they go build a shed or whatever else, and inherently they're coming in here and asking for a variance of this and
Yes.
this, like, I think it's the same thing, and like, it's one of the things, like, you're just tired of. Like,
And that's why I'm saying that he's created his own hardship here, and that's
my
why,
issue.
that's why potentially you may say that, A and B cannot be two separate lots.
So it would have to stay with the pink.
But it sounds like he created his own hardship based off of the recommendation
What he was told.
of Mr. Day.
Yeah.
But of a survey that wasn't signed off, because if that survey was signed off by Dave and probably the mayor, somewhere along the way, I'm sure the mayor would say like, hey, is this even right to survey? And like, so,
Wait a minute, now, I
One-
don't see anything here that indicates the mayor signed off and approved
No.
this.
that's what I
No,
can't
he-
figure out
no.
why the county accepted it. Like, that's what I'm trying to figure out, like.
We'll have to ask them and see why they accepted it, but they did. And so what I'm getting at is you can go ahead and say, all right, we're gonna do these things, but we recognize that to do what you're talking about is we can't do it with just this gentleman. We have to drag those other ones in as well, the people he sold to, and say, hey, this transaction was not approved, we're not gonna accept this. And then they may decide to sue him because that's what they thought they were getting, right? There's a problem.
Yeah, like, where does title insurance kick in?
Yeah, exactly. And frankly, I'm really kind of surprised that the county did do this, but you know, I'm not saying that, I'm just telling you the practical effect of what this is Lot E exists now as it is in this form. Now, you can say, we don't want that, and we can go that, you know, that route, but
Does the county have to regulate our zoning ordinances?
No,
Not
they-
to allow it?
they're supposed to not accept this until they have some official authority from the city that allowed the re-subdivision, and
Like the
apparently
minute
they don't
meetings.
have that.
Like the minute meetings.
Yes.
Unless Mr. Dave sent them an email, I don't know.
But he can't, they should know that he doesn't speak for it, like, we speak through the minutes or something signed off.
Right.
Right.
And none of that exists.
So Jeremy, there's a principle called estoppel, E-S-T-O-P-P-E-L, okay? And when a city official gives a representation and the person relies upon it, you can take that into account in deciding whether or not it's a self-created hardship or not. And that's what he's saying, okay? Now, the mayor can go ahead and tell somebody, and there's a case right on point from a community up in North Mississippi, hey, you can build that over there, it's okay to do it, I'm the mayor, go ahead and do it. They go out there and they pull the permit, they start building, they say, wait a minute, that's not commercial, that's residential. Well, the mayor told me, it doesn't matter what the mayor says, it matters what the zoning said. Now, so there are all kinds of rules that go back and forth about when estoppel is appropriate and when it's not. All I'm telling you is that if you're going to go down this path, you're gonna have to go ahead and bring in these other people, and we're gonna probably end up in court on this. Now, because of the fact that, you know, he is relying upon representations made by Mr. Drass. If that's the route we wanna go, that's fine. I'm just trying to give everybody the full picture.
And I
Yeah.
guess my thing is.
What is your position about combining lots A and B into one?
Why would I wanna do that?
Yeah, if I were to tell you that's the only way you're gonna get this approved.
Is to not
It's two combined.
Yeah.
Combine 'em.
is
So
to
that you,
combine them? Well,
yeah,
Yeah.
you won't have A and B
So-
anymore, you'll just have
So
A.
now I've got a 2.73 acre piece of property there that I'm trying to sell.
Is that what it would be combined, A and B?
Vastly limits the number of people who can purchase at that price. And also, even dividing it, the lots are still bigger than all the lots along Hopland Lane. So it's kind of a minimum division, you know, to make it affordable for more people for me to sell.
Well, let's be honest about it. You know, the lots that are B and A are not really on Hoffman Lane. They have
That's
that
true.
one,
You could argue the point that they're on Sonia.
yeah, they're on that other portion over there, and they just have that one part that exists there. So I'm just offering you a potential compromise if the board is willing to do something. Not, sometimes you don't get everything you want, you know, but there may be a compromise if you're willing to do it. Depends upon where the board wants to go.
It's just my decision of the board. Somebody offering me to come up with a deal like
I'm trying to talk so the board can hear
Yeah.
what their
I mean,
possibilities
I've
are.
acted in good faith the whole time on this, you know, now all of a sudden I'm in jeopardy.
So is that what you're saying? You want to stick with this 5-lot division?
I would prefer to, but
Okay.
if there's no other way, you know, to resolve this other than everybody going to court.
Yeah,
I mean, this is, somebody will buy it eventually, but
yeah.
you're still putting, in my opinion, you're putting me at, I don't know how the word it is on this, on your variance,
Mhm.
not being able to, use my property as I seem,
If-
reasonably fit.
If they were willing to combine lots A and B, you'd still have access to Hoffman Lane, and you could still build on that lot, so I don't think
Yeah, I
that,
could build on it.
yeah, it doesn't encroach upon your constitutional right. What's the will of the board down there? Jeremy's talked a lot, what's the rest of y'all think?
If we would combine A and B,
In one lot, leave it as one lot instead of subdividing it.
Well, what's that solve? Well, you're gonna give up E? E
well,
seem-
Malcolm suggested
he
for him
seems-
to combine
He's
them.
done,
He's done deal.
Yeah.
yeah, he is done.
He has broken off because of those other two, so it's there.
So I still don't understand why I have to compromise for.
You don't, you can wait and let them vote and deny the whole thing if you want, if you want.
Can I, do I have an option to come back and reapply for the variance on A and B
Okay.
at a later date?
I think this is your shot right here, but, you know, it's up to the board to decide.
I mean, is it unreasonable to have A and B lot? This is my compromise I have to make.
You don't have to make any compromise. Stand your ground. If you want to go ahead and stick with that, then go ahead and let's see what they decide. You know, you made a request, the burden's on you for the variance. They can either grant it or not. And at this point, the planning commission had voted to, was it deny, I believe? No, or was it accept?
It was a vote to deny.
Vote to deny. So they've already voted against you, right? The planning commission. Now the board can decide either they want to follow their recommendation or not.
Mr. Bryan, you got something to say?
If he has A and B separate, the only other thing you gotta add to it is to grant an easement for A to drive through B's property. Now, there are numerous landlocked property off of the beach, between the beach and Fell Street. I mean, I looked at one. You know, someone owns it on Fell Street, someone else owns another one on the beach, and in between is 700 feet by 100 feet. It's completely landlocked. And, you know, if you bought it, then somebody has to give you an easement. They cannot,
Sure.
they have to grant an easement, correct? Mr. Malcolm?
Right, they do have to grant, they have to grant an easement, right.
They'd have to.
A lot of the ordinances in coastal communities have a requirement that a certain portion of the lot has to front on a public street. That's kind of the ordinance that y'all have, as you know.
Yeah.
So, and, you know, he's doing the right thing. He's going through the variance process because it's a very uniquely shaped lot because of the way it sits. It's not particularly on, you know, Hoffman or not particularly on Sonia, so it's the only way he can move with it. I get
I
it.
mean, you know,
But-
I voted to grant the variance with
Mhm.
the assumption, and, you know, that there'd be an easement granted
Right.
in there.
Which is the other three voted not to, right?
That's true. but
Yes.
As I mentioned before, they voted just because he
Right.
wasn't here.
That's right.
Not saying they would have voted yea or nay. I mean,
Right.
you could ask Clarence, and
Regardless, they voted,
it's what it is.
yeah, they voted
It's just like
to
that with
deny it.
water.
It's really up to the board. I think we've kind of kicked
Yeah.
this horse down pretty bad, and he's ready for a decision. He's either going to the glue factory or he's not.
Y'all ready to vote?
You have no motion or second, sir.
I don't have a, yeah, I need a motion and a second.
So the motion, your options are to either approve the recommendation of the planning commission, which is to deny the request for variance. That's one option. The second one is to approve the variance as requested, exactly the way he requested, or you can modify it to do something less than what he asked for, which is potentially combining lots A and B into one. And he can either say he's willing to accept it or he doesn't.
So this is one of those situations where the yes vote is to deny.
Yeah.
The no vote is to approve.
Because of the way the recommendation was made by the planning
Correct.
commission. Yes.
I just wanted
So,
that clear for the record.
Yeah, and so let's, whoever makes the motion, and we don't have one on the floor yet, as Ms.
I'll make
Thayard
a
pointed
motion,
out.
I'll make the motion to.
Let's make a motion specifically is what you're saying. Motion's either to approve the variance or deny.
I'm gonna
Okay.
make a motion to, go to approve the request, approve the recommendation of the board.
Planning commission.
Planning
So,
commission.
yes
As much
vote-
as I hate to.
Okay, so that means, just to be very clear, what you just said, Bobby, is you're saying that you are making a motion to deny the variance, because that's your
Yes.
recommendation. Is
Yes.
that right?
Yes.
Burke seconds.
There's the
Just to
second.
deny the whole
Whole thing,
thing.
yeah.
All right, we'll vote that motion. Ward one, Mr. Burke.
Burke, yes.
Ward two, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward three, Mr. LaFontaine.
No.
And Ward four, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Dewitt, you have 10 days you can appeal to circuit court, or you can go ahead and you can, since you've been turned down, you can go ahead and make another application for something else, not the same thing.
And I get that, contact you tomorrow to get right on what I need to do to appeal.
You can call me, yeah, sure. Yeah. I'll get your telephone number from Sean and I'll call you. Okay.
Thank you. All right, Tim.
Okay.
Moving
All right,
on.
moving
Let me
on to
ask you, Do
16.
you guys want me to read both of them? Because they're both the same. They're two different addresses, but it's the same couple.
We need to do them
Separately?
differently.
Okay.
Separate.
Julie and Todd Navarro, owners of the property commonly known as 120 Favre Street, have made an application for multiple variances on the property in order to construct a new single-family residential home. The requests are 5 feet variances from the front and rear yard setbacks and 2.5 feet variances on both yard setbacks. The new setbacks will be 20 feet from the front and rear property lines and 10 feet from both sides of the property lines. After a vote of yes by Commissioners Adams and Frater, with a vote of no by Commissioners Harris and Catalano, Chairman Meggitt broke the tie with the vote of yes. Chairman Meggitt stated that the application meets all conditions and criteria set forth in Section 906.1 of the zoning ordinance and declared the motion passed.
So, just to make for simplicity's sake, I will go and make a motion to take the recommendation of the board.
And what's the
Planning commission.
effect of that?
So if I vote no, so if I vote no, I'm not gonna take the recommendation of the board, so it'd be denied. But
Yeah.
just for simplicity's sake for the meeting.
All right,
And I'd like to comment on this. This particular 124 is one that came before the board a few months ago, and the variants are exactly the same, if not even a little bit different. And we denied the request then, and I can't see approving it this time. So that, yeah,
So, no, so if we go, I made the motion that we accept their recommendation, but that just means voting no.
Right.
Okay?
all right, so let's,
Their recommendation was to approve it.
right. If we vote no, we vote no, it's a not to approve their
Yeah.
recommendation.
let's make this very simple, because
thank
I don't want anybody to
Turn
get
it around where it could be a
confused.
yes vote.
The question ought to be that you're moving to either approve the variance or to deny. Let's forget about how the recommendation is. You read the
Okay, I didn't know it would
recommendation.
be a free offer then.
So let's go with either you're making a motion
make
to
that we-
approve the variance or deny. Now,
Burke makes the motion, we deny.
all right,
I'll second.
Good.
okay, now we need to hear from the audience.
Or whoever.
And by the way, I'd like
Wait,
to
the
ask,
applicant here first?
Yeah,
Generally speaking, we listen to applicants first.
yes,
Yeah.
okay. Let me ask a question. Is Miss Amy Galata Rogers present? If she's not, I'm gonna read, she sent in a written objection. I'll read it in the record at the right time. Go ahead.
We purchased 120 Farm, and we're not asking for much variance. It's a small lot. We're asking for 5 feet front.
5 feet front, 5
5
feet
feet
back,
back.
2.5 and 2.5. And I'm looking at all the lots that are being built on that street, and I took pictures of all the other houses. So I'm not asking for anything they're not doing already. You know, it seems to be that y'all set the precedence already, that it's already been done. I've heard the lady say earlier, about that. You tell me what you want us to do. We hadn't started our plans, and we'll do it. We're easy, we're simple. I've been doing this for a long time. I just want to be simple, have fun doing it. That's it, that's all I got to say. I'd like to have the 5.5 and 5.5 do what I want to do, but tell me what I gotta do, I'll do it.
Okay, I guess we need to hear from the rest.
I'm Althea Boudreau. I live at 116 Favre Street, which is directly adjacent to 120. I have 2 lots, so I have 116 and 118. That's the way I purchased the property, and that's the way I built it. This, first of all, for the record, the letter that went out to talk about this variance, it literally says, "You are receiving this notice because you are adjacent property owner or located directly across the street." The first time this was looked at, Mr. Richardson mentioned, it was 3 months ago. This came before y'all, and the variances that were requested were less than what they're asking for. They're asking for a 20-foot front, a 20-foot back, and a 12.5 and a 12.5. So that I don't get ahead of myself. I don't have one for you, Mayor, I apologize.
That's okay.
In this pack, it's gonna be the letters that I wrote to you guys.
You emailed this to us, didn't you?
The emails. What also is attached is, the actual plot that the street, the actual lot, how big it is. It's 50 by 112, or almost 113 on one side, and 115 on the other side. In the plot that I gave you, when this came before y'all 3 months ago, everything that's got a circle on it is all of the people that either wrote in or physically showed up to say they were against it, to have any variance. Can I finish, please? So, many of these people have written in since then, but because this letter wasn't sent to everyone that was within 300 feet, it obviously must have only been sent to adjacent property owners. Some of them didn't even know that there was another variance being asked for. Okay, so I'm just gonna read real quickly the letter that I wrote to the zoning commission. I did show up at that meeting, and I did at that meeting express my objection and why. My home at 116 Favre Street is directly adjacent to the property and was constructed in 2010, following all the guidelines as required by the city. I purchased 2 50-foot lots to allow the proper placement of the size of the home I intended to build. Favre Street is considered Mary Maxwell subdivision. The lots on this side of the street were created with 50-foot frontage. This particular lot is 50 foot wide by 115 deep, and what the city created is an exception to the 15-foot side setbacks on 50-foot lots. That allows 12.5 at this time. This was done over 2.5 years ago to help with the small lots. The owner is now asking for a variance to the exception, not just a variance to the ordinance. In addition, they are requesting front and back variances, which would create a potential slab of approximately 30 by 75, not including a potential concrete driveway in the front. This allows for only 10 foot of watershed on both sides of the building and very limited exposed groundwater absorption in the front and rear. The ordinances were put in place for a reason on these small lots. I'm opposed to these variances being allowed because of the potential drainage issues and the overbuilding of these small lots. The saturation of the overly large houses being allowed also affects the aesthetics of the area. I'm asking y'all to vote no. Since the time that I went to the meeting, since then, we've had an unbelievable rain, and of course, again, drainage, that wherever the water can find its way. There's nothing that I can say negative about somebody wanting to build a house. I want people to come back. I've been in Waveland since I was 3, you guys, okay? So I want building. I just don't like the overbuilding of these small lots. And again, people will say, well, I didn't have the money to buy a bigger lot. I don't know what to say to that. I don't even know how to answer that. I mean, I went into my life savings to build my house in 2010, okay? And I feel like that this board, this group and the Commission in Zoning should consistently be looking at the overbuilding in Waveland. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Althea.
I gotta say one more thing.
Hey, sir, we're gonna let everybody speak and we let the applicant come back at the end.
My name is Ann Steinmetz. I live at 128 Favre Street. I also came before the board last time. I'm not going to go into all the details because I know that you've heard it about the drainage, about the problems that happen when you have what would be a non-conforming building in a residential area, that it changes the character of the neighborhood. We're not going to be on our street, we don't want to be a Motel 6 road like St. Joseph's has become, with houses being built right next to each other. We're a residential area. Now, I know that there's only 4 full-time families on my street. There's almost 20 new houses on that street. Only 4 of us are there, and what we do is we kind of keep the neighborhood up. My neighbors who don't live there, they leave their trash cans out. We put their trash cans back. When there's limbs that fall on the road, we clean that up. Those are the things that people who are the weekenders or they only come a few months of the year, we sort of take care of the neighborhood. We want people to come back to Waveland. Who we want to come back are families. We want people who are going to be residents, that are going to send their kids to school, that are going to shop every day in the stores, not just pay a tax once a year on their property. So we want to keep the character of our neighborhood what it is. The Planning and Zoning Commission, and I know most of those people on there, but their job is to enforce the rules. They have to be applied the same to everyone, consistently. When people buy a lot, they know what the rules are. That's what the Zoning and Planning Commission should do, not make an exception, not, we just had an election. I was a poll worker. When people came to our table, I had to ask every single person for a photo ID. My husband, my neighbors, people I knew really well. My job was to apply the rules the same to everyone. Everyone who came in there knew what the rules were. You had to give your photo ID. When you buy a lot, you know what the rules are. You know what the setbacks are. You know if you buy a 50-foot lot, you're not going to be able to build a very wide house because you have those setbacks. There's a reason for those, especially where we live, which is fairly close to the beach. The drainage, that water is going to come down the street. It's going to come into my yard. We used to all have covered culverts before Katrina. We don't have those anymore. We have open ditches, and they overflow into my front yard. And I have to clean those up, which is fine. I accept that. I'm not making complaints about the city of Waveland because we all came back and we all wanted our city to come back. But we just have to enforce the rules the same to everyone, and that's what I'm asking this body to do, is just treat everybody the same. We didn't ask for variances. As far as I know, the only variance request that has been requested and granted on my street was after the fact. Someone who built a house when it got sold, and they found out that there hadn't been a variance request made, but it was determined they should have had one. They came and they asked for one to fix something. We shouldn't live that way, where we're fixing problems after the fact. People know what they are, they have to live with it, the same like we all did. And that's why I'm asking that this variance request be denied.
Thank you.
I want to make a little clarification. I'm not sure it got read. We denied the variances on the front and the rear setback. Okay, so only variances in question are the 2.5 feet on either side. Front and back were denied. Okay, so that's all you're voting on is the 2.5.
No, we'll be voting on all of it regardless.
Read it right there.
No, but you still vote on all of it regardless.
Pardon?
It was just y'all's
Yeah.
recommendation. We'd still vote on all of it regardless.
Yeah, but you're not, we denied,
No, but they still they made an application for it, so all of the setbacks are still in question. It's just a recommendation of what y'all did.
right, so if you accept our recommendation, they do not get front and rear setbacks.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
But no,
That's it.
but we're voting
Yes.
on all of it regardless, like front and rear. Yes.
Well, usually you say, you make a motion to accept our recommendation, yes or no. And our
Oh, gotcha,
recommend,
okay.
and our recommendation is only side yards, not front and back.
Understand.
Mr. Frater, they have a third option to modify, do something.
Yes, they can,
different.
but I just
Yeah.
want to make sure that our recommendation did not request front and,
Right.
rear setbacks.
Y'all voted no to the 5-foot front and back.
Yes,
Yes on the side.
But yes to the
Yes.
sides.
to deny that.
Okay.
Yes to the 2.5 feet on the sides.
Right, and then, we're gonna condition, a request that he would,
We're gonna have to
install
do a
gutters
little different.
to help with the storm drainage, to bring the water to the street. Not let it come off of the roof and fall on the land and perhaps the, Althea's land.
Another
Because the
gentleman
water
over there.
projected to the street.
Sir,
You have another guy over there.
you want to speak, sir?
Yeah.
Okay, come on.
My name's Bruce Campbell. I also live at 128 Far, full-time. And I don't think there's much I can add to what I said last time we were here. It's a little bit like, in the immortal words of Yogi Berra, deja vu all over again. I would like to, one, object to the way that thing was posted. It was on a small little sheet of paper with small print, and you had to cross the ditch and bend down or get on your knees to read it. Otherwise, the only thing I'd like to say is that I'm sure there are probably a number of legitimate reasons for a variance, but I just don't think building a bigger rental house is one of them.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell.
I have a question that maybe the lawyer can help us verify. I asked this question of the commission, and I really didn't get I didn't get a real answer. When a variance is granted, is it from the piers or from the roof line? Because if you put it from the piers and you're coming 10 feet from someone's property line, and then you have a roof line that's 1.5 feet or 2 feet. It's the wall, it's from the wall.
Yes, ma'am.
So if someone has 10 foot from someone's property line and they have a 2-foot overhang, now the water's coming 8 foot down, 8 foot away, the water displacement off the roof.
It's from the wall.
From the wall. It's not gonna be from the wall, the water's gonna be coming off the roof. So the roof can come out as far as it wants, is that correct?
No, there's limitations to projections in the zoning ordinance.
Okay,
Yeah.
because when these
It's like 1.5
variances are
feet.
requested,
2 foot.
no plans are given.
Because you need to know what variance you are given before you draw plans.
Right.
Right, but when the variance does not, it's just a line that they fill out on the application, and there's nothing talked about what the structure's gonna look like.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to
When they
clarify
submit
that.
their application for a building permit, they'll look at the distance of the encroachment into the side
Well, a
yard.
lot of times there's
Yeah.
renderings at
Right.
the site and the elevations of the building.
Right.
You can
Okay.
see the building.
But it's not required for the variance.
But it's not required on the variance. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Althea.
Anybody else out there? If not, we're gonna allow rebuttal by the applicant.
That's you, sir.
No rebuttal. Not a renter, gonna move here. I bought 2 lots, one for me, one for my daughter to go to the Catholic school here. We're from Louisiana, moved away to Montana 27 years ago, we're coming home. We're coming right here to Waveland, so I bought 2 lots. So instead of putting a 25-foot small shotgun-looking home to really make it look nasty, I'm a builder. We're gonna put we wanna put a 30-foot house. That's why I need the 2 10-foot setbacks on either side. The 5 on the front, yeah, we don't need that, it's fine. The 5 in the back, I'm thinking about my swimming pool, where I wanna put my pool at. I'm putting 1-foot soffits on it. I could put gutters. And if you noticed, she talked about the drainage and everything. I done already put a full culvert across the whole entire, and including her property, including the other property as well. I tied into both sides of it the correct way, and Waveland did it for me. I bought all the culverts, and they had them put it all in. So I'm already improving it to make sure that we don't have any issues with the water. I know how to control my water. I'm gonna put my V in the side and bring that water forward, and I know how to do French drains to make it come forward. So I will bring the water to the street to where it has to go. Same thing with gutters. When I put my application in to turn around and put a building plan, you're right. There's no sense in turning around and giving me a set of plans yet until I know my variance. So, I'm trying to figure out the variance until I can get the plans ready to go. I was thinking something like a 1,500 square foot house. Nothing really crazy, but something a little bit wider than the little FEMA homes. I wanna make it look not nice. The same thing on Fink. That's a little smaller lot. That's probably the one we're gonna move into and put my daughter and my granddaughter on Ford, because she'd be closer to the Catholic school. That's kind of the game plan. So we're not a renter. We're not this part-time. We're coming. And I'm gonna buy multiple lots. That's the game plan. All right. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here's my just 2 cents and just general building as a whole. I'm a bigger fan of side yard setbacks, because my whole big thing is whenever you go buy a house, when you go look for it, you always go to yourself, I like the house, but I'm too close to the neighbor. So my always note game is side yard setbacks. I don't care what size the lot is. Front and rear yards, I always want the front yard to meet whatever else is on the house, which is probably at least 25 feet back. The rear yard, I think, is where the variance should be given. That's my opinion.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to deny the request.
So I guess the only thing, so just hearing everything, I said, would it be feasible, and I'm just gonna ask, you can make things more strict. Would it be feasible to have no side yard setback, no front, but only a rear?
That'd be fine, but I'm not putting any stairs outside the front or back. And the reason why I'm putting my stairs inside, coming from the inside, I understand the question, but it would be a little nice to have a 30-foot house versus a 25.
And once again, I like small lots. The deal is a 30-foot house should be 60-foot lot. Like, just buy the lot that would fit the house.
Right,
It's a personal credence of mine.
right, I understand.
So,
There's a letter that hasn't been read. Miss Amy from next door.
Yeah,
She had a
but-
death in the family, that's why she wrote in.
Right, it's part of the record, but I am gonna read it. Okay. Would you like me to do that now?
Yeah, what you do.
All right, let's knock that out. That's why I asked earlier, Ms. Boudreaux, if she was present. Dear Mayor and Alderman, my name is Amy Galata Rogers. I'm part owner of 122 Favre and sole owner of 124 Favre. Both of these properties are adjacent to 120 Favre. 122 Favre is on the side of 120 Favre, and 124 Favre extends along the rear of 120 Favre. I'm writing once again to express my opposition for multiple variances being requested for the lot at 120 Favre Street. This is the same property that came before you a few months ago, and you, all caps or bold print, You voted unanimously not to allow any variances. This new applicant is asking for more variances than those requested by the former applicant. The P and Z Commission voted on November 14th to allow the requested variances. I'm wondering if they knew you had voted against these variances months ago. If the P and Z did know of your decision on that lot, why did they vote yes and go against your first ruling? Now it will come before you once more. My opposition is still based on the arguments that several property owners and myself put forth before, drainage issues and overbuilding on this small lot. I respectfully ask that you oppose this request and respect the wishes of the other property owners in the area who followed the setback requirements as they currently exist. Respectfully, Amy Galata Rogers.
One more thing, sir.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
once again, the first guy who asked for the variance, which was 3 months ago, they were actually he wanted more than we wanted. That's why we went less. We were told that he wanted more, and so we went less. I said, give me 2.5 feet on each side. That would get me and 5 in the back. He wanted more on the thing, and I guess if you look at the applicant, what's that? Yeah, he wanted 5 on each side, because I came into the.
Right. Sean, come to the podium.
Yes, it starts at.
Sean, come to the podium.
All right, y'all, calm down.
Yeah, let's hear go to the podium.
Sorry.
What's your recollection of what happened the first time?
The first time, Mr. Dane was asking for, 5 on front and back, but I thought he was asking for 5 on each side also. So that would have been 7.5 feet on each side. But they're not. They're asking for the 2.5 so that they can be 10 feet.
I have the documentation right here if you wanna know what he was asking for.
Okay.
He was asking for
Would you,
12 and a half. It's right here. 2.5, just like.
He was
we talked-
he was asking for
This
2.5?
is your document.
Let's see. Okay, yeah, it was the same. I'm sorry, I think at the meeting it was changed. He was asking different at the meeting.
Yeah.
Was that what it was?
No.
I think he made it less
No, when he
restrictive.
came to the meeting, he asked for more at the planning and zoning meeting.
And then
I was at all these meetings, ma'am,
Yeah.
and that's exactly what he asked for. They started 15, everybody keeps saying it's
Right.
12 and a half.
It's 12 and a half for a 50-foot wide lot. That's
Right.
what's in the
Correct,
zoning
and
ordinance.
he's asking for 2.5, which brings it to 10 from the property line.
Right, but when
Exactly
Mr.
what
Dane
they're asking
came
for.
to the meeting, I think that verbally he asked for different, but.
Now, all of that
that-
is
that's-
totally,
that's
all of
moot
that
anyway.
as to what happened the first time is totally irrelevant
Right.
at this point.
It's moot, yeah, cause it
it's
did
a
not pass.
Brand new application, different people. We got all the facts. Now it's time for the board to decide what they want to do.
all right, y'all wanna keep the motion the way you have it to deny?
remove my whatever it was.
It was to deny.
So you're withdrawing your motion, Jeremy? Okay,
Because
so
I guess my deal is, and it just has more to do with it, if they can do 25 feet in the front, 12 and a half on each side, but allow the 20-foot rear yard setback, so it's only a 5-foot rear yard, the only variance we'd be given is a 5-foot rear yard, I'm fine with that, but just but,
You're still asking for 10-foot sides, correct?
no side yard setbacks, no front yard setback. The only thing to approve would be a 5-foot rear yard variance. So it'd be a 25 feet front yard, 12 and a half foot rear yard, which is by right. The only thing that would not be by right would be the 5-foot rear yard.
We don't need it.
Okay,
We
then
just need the 2.5 and 2.5 would be nice, if you guys want to, if you grant it.
okay, then I would remove my motion still, so they don't have a motion on the table.
Okay.
all right, so does anybody want to make a motion?
I'm trying to,
So
so we just withdrew
No, so
variances.
his deal breaker is he wants a 10-foot
10-foot side
and
yard.
my deal breaker is you're not getting any side yard setback. So, y'all go from there and I'll vote accordingly.
And the only thing that I'm saying, which I said earlier, this is the same variance that was asked for prior 3 months ago. We denied it. And if we wouldn't have denied that, Mr. Doucette could have built already. So now we're gonna change what I'm not gonna change what I decided 3 months ago to the same variance. That's where I stand.
Are you making a motion to deny the variance, Bobby?
Yes.
All right, there's a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay.
All right, second to deny. All right, we'll vote that motion. Ward one, Mr. Burke.
Yes.
Ward two, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward three, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward four, Mr. Piazza.
No.
Motion still passed.
3-1, so the variance was denied, sir. Okay, now we're moving on to the next one, Tammy.
Yes, sir.
17.
Julian Todd Navarro, owners of the property commonly known as 302 Fink Street, have made an application for multiple variances on the property in order to construct a new single-family residential home. The requests are 5 feet variances from the front and rear yard setbacks and 2.5 feet variances on both side yard setbacks. The new setbacks will be 20 feet from the front and rear property lines and 10 feet from both property lines. After a vote of yes by Commissioners Adams and Frater and a vote of no by Commissioners Harris and Catalano, Chairman Meggett broke the tie with a vote of no. The recommendation is to deny the application.
Again, we put a condition on it, and we changed it. We denied the front foot variance. We did accept the rear foot variance, but the front foot was denied.
Okay.
It would be, they would get a 2.5 feet on each side, 20.
And the 5 in the back.
Gotcha.
It was a different size lot.
It's still a 50-foot lot, isn't it?
Let's see.
It's still a 50-foot lot.
Is Mr. Gary Dauphine here? He was an objector. Nobody? Okay. Anybody else have an objection? They'd want to speak to this application?
Do anything, 'cause that's gonna be the rear yard, so it wouldn't.
Doesn't sound like there's any objections. You want to say anything, sir?
So same thing on that one, we
Yeah.
was asking for the same thing to get a little house to make it work, you know?
Right.
And I also put a continuous on Monday and Tuesday. Monday, I put that one in. Tuesday, I put the FARB one in. So continuous drainage on our.
Okay.
I know what we're trying to accomplish here, and
Right.
I'm not gonna piss anybody off.
Okay.
Make it work.
So we have an application here where the, as Mr. Frater pointed out, they denied the request for the side yard, but they did at least recommend the variance for the rear, as I recall, is what you said, Mr. Frater?
Deny the front and then,
Accepted the sides and the back.
Accepted the sides in the back?
Yes.
Okay. So that's
This
the
is
recommendation.
This is the 5,500 square foot lot. This is 5,500 square foot lot, correct? Right?
50 by 110.
Yeah, so 5,500 square feet.
Okay. No objections from the audience.
All right, do I have a motion to?
Follow the recommendation,
Burke moves.
to follow the recommendation of the planning commission?
Okay, follow the my motion would be to allow.
Let's do this, because it just gets so complicated talking about the recommendation.
Yeah.
Make your motion to allow whatever variances you're saying you're gonna do, and what is that?
Because of, it's not next to the corner lot. And normally my side yard is, but that's gonna be somebody's backyard, so.
Right.
So it's
allow the
not
fir-
next to what? Repeat that?
So like this lot, the next door neighbor's a corner, so that means their side yard's gonna probably be in those people's backyards. So you're gonna have 30 feet away from each other house, instead of being, if you're in a row, then if you allow 10 feet, there's only 20 feet. So in my head, schematically, it would look better if you have a smaller lot, like schematically.
Now, is there the house sitting on the 50-foot next to it?
No, the house next to it isn't even 20 feet back from the road.
So,
I don't think.
Jeremy, rather than tell us the algorithm, tell us what your motion is.
Sir, my ADHD minute went around a long time ago.
So what's your motion? If you're making the motion or somebody else is, what's your motion? forget about the recommendation. We know what the recommendation is. What is the motion?
So the request 5 foot, so allow the applicant to have y'all didn't want a front yard in planning and zoning? I'm sorry, I'm just asking. Y'all denied the front yard?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because you need a parking, okay. My recommendation was to approve the side yard variance and the rear yard variance.
Okay, there we go. So now we know what that is, which is 2.5 on the sides and what in the rear?
5.
Okay, that's the motion.
There a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Any more discussion down there?
And I know it's a 50-foot lot, but the scenario is different, being that it's a backyard of a side yard.
Because it's on a
That's the
corner.
only reason why I would
Do different.
deny the.
Do different.
He followed he followed.
Okay, good.
What's the property
I'm
to the
ready-
left
I
of it
wanna-
though?
Yeah, that's a house that sits
Yeah,
further off.
Okay.
all right,
All right,
The one on the left side?
Yeah.
yeah,
all right, so we'll vote that motion then?
yeah.
Hang
Y'all
on,
ready?
Mayor. Hang on, Mayor.
Okay.
These are not uniform lots in the subdivision, like Farvis.
Because we didn't get a map to this one. Jeremy's pulling it up on
So-
Geophone.
Look at it,
Your uniform lot, your lots are not all the same in the subdivision. You have this lot here, but then you have deep cut lots on here. And the house that it's gonna be next to is already built, which is probably not 25 feet from the road, but you need somewhere to park on a spall. So make sure they have enough room in the front, which they would be able to park off a 10 by 20 parking spot, 2 of them, and then the corner lot. So like, this is not a uniform part of town, because it's part of a
I
triangle.
guess what I'd like to know is the side,
That,
the side offset of this house here,
Well, I mean,
the side
that's a
setback.
long ways, because that one
Yeah,
lot's
no, that's too lo-
75 foot.
Right,
Yeah,
so
that's-
it's not gonna be.
and they can't build
Right.
anything, that's 100 feet, it's gonna be 100 feet away from the neighbor.
Unless I get it.
You're not getting it.
That's already has a house halfway on that one.
All right, I'm ready to vote.
Everybody ready?
Yes. Burke, yes.
All right, Mr. Richardson,
Yes.
and Mr. LaFontaine,
Yes.
and Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
All right.
All right, moving on.
No one's planning and zoning.
I think that's all planning and zoning. Keep Waveland Beautiful, Mr. Theriloff.
Good evening, and Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Same to you.
Let's get a little bit more of that in the atmosphere. And I have the number one, this is our monthly Keep Waveland Beautiful, just keeping you posted of what we're doing and trying to do and helping the branding and the environment of Waveland. Item A, I have litter and realtor signs. Mr. Joseph, on the realtor signs, I think you took that.
Sir, Ryan, can you speak? 'Cause it doesn't pick you up when you turn around. Like, I'm just reaching, when I watch the video, it's hard to read if you're turning that way.
You want me to face you
No, I
and
just need
address?
the microphone in front of your mouth, so when we rewatch the video, it's hard to hear otherwise.
People's listening can't hear it.
Stand on the other side of the podium if you.
I've been here all evening and had a difficult time hearing any of you, but okay, we'll adjust that. Mr. Joseph, realtor sign, I think I've got it listed here, giving you the wrong impression. It's not, I'm not speaking of a restriction on realtor signs, or an ordinance, as you might have in a gated community, or as they have up in Diamond Head, where they can only have them out certain days and things of that nature. Let's address litter first. Where's Jeremy?
You read him off, Mr. Ryan.
That's why he wanted you to turn. That's why he wanted you to turn.
All right.
Turn you back.
I'm not gonna wait for him. Litter, as you know, Keep Waveland Beautiful is constantly working on picking up litter. That, and this last weekend, there was 6 of us that put in 2.5, 3 hours at Waveland Avenue and Central. And then a couple of us came down Central because the drainage ditches are so deep on Central. Driving up and down Central, you don't see, as I was walking, there was quite a bit of litter, plastic cups, styrofoam cups, beer bottles, all kinds of that litter.
Mr. Bryan, is that the ditches that runs north-south, not the ones that run parallel with Central, right? You talking about the ones that come under the tracks, the deep ones?
No, I'm talking run parallel with Central on each side,
It's just,
particularly the one on the south
South
side.
side,
On
yeah.
the south side. So we did a good job with 6 people and cleaned up quite a bit of area, cleaned up that intersection of Waveland and Central as you come over the tracks and the old gas station and the park and things of that nature. We all felt that it looked quite a bit better. But that's reactive. We're being reactive to litter. And I'd like y'all, particularly Alderman Burke and Alderman Piazza, now that your 8 years is up, and we all know that you love Waveland, help in some community service like this, please, and give us some of your ideas. And so I want to know how we can get always having to be reactive to litter and get something proactive with the city's support and the media's support, the local media and things of that nature. We're looking for ideas. And I always post our meetings, and we're inviting you, now that you have a little bit more time, that you get
What
involved
days
with
you
us.
meet?
Well, why are you shaking your head, Jeremy?
We do have more time. We still have 24 hours in the day. We're not making the days longer.
All right. So help us on being proactive on litter. One thing is, I've heard in solid waste meetings and at the Board of Supervisors, there's a particular county supervisor, I won't name him, I think a lot of us know him. Every time we talk recycling, there's no money in recycling. Well, there's a lot of money in recycling cardboard. Claiborne Hill and Walmart, they'll tell you, their managers, they are making good money off of recycling cardboard. We're getting into that phase. Yes, there isn't any money in recycling glass now, and there's repurposing of the plastic. So, you know, I'd like some involvement in how we can get that message out. I walk by the, yes, Jeremy, I walk by the businesses and whatnot. There's a mechanical contractor down on Nicholson, right by the barbecue place. They go through a lot of their cardboard boxes. They don't even break the cardboard boxes down. They just kick them once or twice and stuff them in the dumpster. But if we can get the message out now, there is a lot of money in recycling cardboard. So that, I wanted to share that because I hear that at all the solid waste board meetings. There's no money in recycling, and that isn't correct. The realtor signs, the reason I had this here is because when a property sells, a lot of times the realtor signs end up in the storm drain, in the storm ditches. There's one now from McDonald Realty. It's a 4 by 6 foot sign, folded up and whatnot, in the drainage ditch right there by the Memphis Barbecue. It's been in that drainage ditch for months. So what I'd like, a little bit of help, is if we can get with the realtors, get the word across to them and some kind of enforcement that they are responsible for their realtor signs, particularly the large ones, after they've moved the property. I'm not looking for any restrictions on the signs while the property's for sale. It's just, they need to pick it up. Tree planting through the month of November. Hancock Beautification, Catherine Ullman with Hancock Beautification. Got over 350 live oak, willow oak, and a nut oak donated by a local nursery. These were 8-foot trees. We worked with Catherine. Catherine had them we unloaded them at the community garden over in Bay St. Louis. Catherine allowed Keep Waveland Beautiful to bring over 50 of those up here. We had residents, local residents, pick 1 or 2, some picked up 3 to put on their own properties. So through Bay St. Louis and Waveland, over the last month, residents have over 300 oaks available to them, and they've all been picked up, and they've been planted by local residents. And Keep Waveland Beautiful still has 13 that we're working with Bo and the administration on supplementing what's been lost on Nicholson Avenue is one idea. I've put 2 over here at the Village Green, 2 live oaks and 1 willow oak, and we've got a couple at MLK Park, and I plan on putting a couple more in there this weekend in conjunction with Willie.
Who was that you received the trees from?
Catherine Ullman is a resident of Bay St. Louis, and she's in charge of Hancock Beautification. There is not a basic.
Hancock County?
Yes, she's with the chamber, through the chamber. She's not a chamber employee, but it's a branch of the chamber, and they call it Hancock Beautification. They do not have Bay St. Louis beautification. Keep Bay St. Louis beautiful. She wasn't able to. She prefers. She's been more successful as Hancock Beautification.
How was that, I don't have Facebook, but, so how was it, was there any kind of publication or anything that there was trees being offered to residents, or?
She posted it, and it was on a lot of Facebooks through Bay St. Louis. That's how we found out about it initially, and we helped unload those 300-plus trees over at the community garden 4 weeks ago. And because we got involved in
That's how
that,
you got the 50.
in that, she was more than willing. We'll take some of these trees up to Waveland also and get it out.
Yeah.
Keep Waveland Beautiful, put it on our Facebook, and we notified all our members of Keep Waveland Beautiful, and it got out. So that's how I mean, they went in a hurry.
Oh, I bet so.
Yeah, they were great trees, and 250 of them, of the 400, close to 400, were live oaks. So, and they were in great shape. And they were donated by a nursery up in Pearlington.
Burlington?
So that's the second item there. The Tahiti daffodil bulbs donation by the Bay Waveland Garden Club. We got 500 bulbs from Bay Waveland Garden Club. We Keep Waveland Beautiful. We've already started planting them at Ground Zero. The landscape contractor that the library uses pulled all the weeds and mulched last week, so we're gonna plant bulbs there. We're also gonna plant bulbs around City Hall here. We've got 500 bulbs, we'll get all those in, those will start blooming in later February, 1st of March. And those were donated by the Bay Waveland Garden Club. The last item I have here is Hancock Chamber byway signage Highway 90. I'm going to defer on that tonight. I think I'm getting, as far as Waveland on that, I'm getting a little bit out of the lane into the neutral ground on this. And it'll be an item of addressing the signage situations and other things at the next meeting. I won't spend the time under Keep Waveland Beautiful tonight. So that's it, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr.
And,
Bryan.
Have a great holiday.
Thank you, you too.
If we don't see each other prior to Christmas.
Thank you, sir.
And Merry Christmas.
Thank you, buddy.
Great holiday.
All right, moving on to consent agenda 19. Motion to approve the following consent agenda items listed A through G.
I'm good with everything on this.
Yes, I'd like to pull G off for discussion, please.
All right, anything else?
Can I make a motion for A through F?
A through F.
I'll second.
All right, we'll vote that motion. Ward 1, Mr. Burke.
Burke, yes.
Ward 2, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward 3, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward 4, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
All right, Bobby, you pulled off G?
Yes.
Okay.
Back when we approved the grant from the Alice Mosley Museum, I know it came with a $250 cost to the city. And I don't know where we stand with that. According to, I think, Ms. Kim, during our audit time, there was an email sent to me about we needed an itemized list of material that was bought for that $250. It said, because I was involved in it, thought I would have the invoice, and I said I wasn't involved in the making of the mural or the paint or anything. So, was that $250 paid out already, or?
It was paid. I think, the new invoice, they had said it was 500.
Yeah, not 250.
Tammy knows.
Yeah, I mean,
I know it was just $250 for the MLK, so it must need $250 for the, Nicholson Avenue still?
Yeah, that's my understanding, yes, sir.
I'll just table it.
Oh,
We've paid.
No, why not?
Because that's what I'm just trying to get to. I
500
know
Which
we approved the
They're
250.
saying we still owe another $250 toward the grant, yes, sir.
I have a question.
So, hey, how about this? So we can get the answer, so I'm glad you asked. Can we just go and table it? Somebody go ask and we'll bring it up another time when we get confirmation, because I'm not gonna pay anything that we might not have.
Is that your motion?
And
Yeah,
send-
motion to table.
And also
F.
email a copy of all the documents that go along with it to
I
us.
Yes, please.
printed them today so that I could
Thank
go
you.
back.
Alright, so my motion was to table.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Alright. Vote Burke,
All right.
yes.
All right, Mr. Richardson?
Yes.
Ward 2. Mr. LaFontaine, Ward 3.
Yes.
And Mr. Piazza, Ward 4.
Yes.
Thank you.
So is number 20 is on the docket or not? I mean, sorry, is G on the docket?
No, that just came to
Okay.
us, no, sir.
All right, that's the end of the consent agenda. 20 on the agenda, motion to approve the docket of claims paid and unpaid in the amount of,
Moves, we
okay, $1,207,000.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote 20. Ward 1, Mr. Burke.
Burke, yes.
Ward 2, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward 3, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward 4, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion to approve application for Mississippi Municipal and County Water Round 2 Infrastructure Grant.
Burke moves.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion?
What are we submitting, and is this the ARPA?
Yeah, it's the ARPA and it's due
Yeah.
to at the end of the year.
Yes.
What are we
I think there's just-
submitting?
That's almost right. So we applied for the first round, but we didn't make it. I think I explained maybe at the previous meeting that, maybe I didn't do it here. But they awarded like 40% of the grant fund, so now they're doing the other portion. And we're submitting the same projects that we submitted for application, the round one.
just have to put it
Yeah,
back in the
That's
order.
Mr.
Escher.
Escher,
Yeah.
the engineer with Compton, is working on the application, trying to dress it up a little bit, but it's same application. They're having, the reason I say dress it up, make some changes, because they changed some of the rules as to how it needs to be filed. And, there's actually a seminar or webinar on December 9th that's gonna give us more, details of how best to submit that
I
application.
didn't see on the projects that was submitted that Waveland had submitted. You sure it was for ARPA that was submitted?
It wasn't, it was not ARPA, the way it works is you use the ARPA as your
As your
match.
Match,
Right.
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 Yeah, that's,
So,
It's
but
called this.
you're saying you don't know what the projects were that we submitted for? Is what
No,
you're
I know
asking?
we had talked about submitting, but I didn't think it was ever submitted.
It was,
Yeah,
in
the
fact,
Center City?
it was in fact
Yeah.
submitted, and it was denied the first round, but we're hoping, we're gonna do well in the second round, because,
I think,
a lot of the other cities didn't get it either. Gulfport got 0, Pass Christian got 0.
Palm Beach got zero.
Well, Long Beach, I think,
Like,
they
lift
got some
station.
money on that one. But, anyway, the portal opened up again on December 1st, and I think you have to submit by
The
the end
30th.
of January, I believe.
I think it
No, I
was
think
December
it's
first.
the 30th of December,
It's
isn't it?
just the month of December.
Well, maybe it is then. I thought they were gonna try to open it for 60 days. Nevertheless, we need to get this back in so we can have a shot, okay? Shane, I'll get Mr. Escher to email all of y'all the application so you see what it looks like.
Yeah.
You actually file it through the portal, so it's electronic.
Yeah. All right. All right, motion to approve a request from Police Chief, Mr. Mike Pendergrass, to apply for,
Okay, we didn't vote on
oh, I'm
that.
sorry.
vote that still.
All right, we'll vote 21.
Burke, yes.
All right, Ward 2, Mr. Richardson.
Ward 2, yes.
Ward 3, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward 4, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
Can he please email us a copy of that submittal whenever he
Yes.
submits it?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, Bob will.
computer too that we did, right? Some application stuff.
I'll get it directly from Mr. Escher.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll send
Yeah.
it to you and you can pass it to the board.
That'll be the completed one. All right, motion to approve a request from Police Chief, Mr. Mike Pendergrass, to apply for a seatbelt grant.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion on 22? Hearing none, we'll vote. Ward 1, Mr. Burke.
Burke, yes.
Ward 2, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward 3, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward 4, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
Thank you. 23, approve a request from Ms. Kristen Tusa to discuss the Fall Festival and request the use of Coleman Avenue for October 14th, 2023.
Please speak to the mic.
I can adjust it. Okay.
Did we vote on her to speak yet?
No,
Is there a motion for her to speak?
no, it's not.
All right,
I figured the meeting wasn't long enough, so I drag it out a little bit longer for y'all.
You're really doing me a favor, ain't you?
Okay, I just, before you all approve, Coleman Avenue Fall Fest, I just wanted to, the last time when you approved it back in April, I didn't get to speak to you all, and now that we've been through the first Coleman Avenue Fall Fest, I just wanted to make sure that, you were, that you had some information about it. So when I approached the mayor, in March or April of last year, my idea was to create an event that the community, both locals and visitors, could count on, similar to something like Crab Fest. Everybody knows Crab Fest is 4th of July weekend. The St. Clair Fest is Memorial Weekend. Cruising the Coast is always that first week in October. And so I wanted Waveland to have something like that, something that's family-friendly, something that can bring attention and light to Waveland. And so obviously Coleman Avenue is the best place to do that. After meeting with Myrna at the tourism office, I partnered with her and with the city of Waveland, along with Visit Mississippi, to work on this, on Coleman Avenue Fall Fest. So if you weren't able to attend, well, let me just back up. When I met with Myrna, she said that the most frequented, the most clicked on tab on the Hancock County Tourism's website is for events and festivals. And I'm not in all the residents of Waveland Facebook groups anymore and stuff. But I've seen lots of people come into town for the weekend, whether they own a home that they come to for the weekend or whether they're coming to visit. They ask, what's going on in town this weekend? We're coming in for my birthday. What is there to do? And so they're looking for events in a safe environment. And so that's why they're coming here. And so that was another reason that I wanted to create this event. So after meeting with Myrna and after the first Fall Fest in October, we want to do it again on that same weekend. It would be it's the weekend after Cruising the Coast in October. But, last year I didn't have the idea until like April, so vendors and different things were already booked. And so we really need to get it on the calendar so everybody knows when it is, so nothing else may be planned on that weekend and so forth. Just so you know, we applied, Hancock County Tourism applied for a grant through Visit Mississippi. And so Visit Mississippi awarded us a grant for $5,000 that we used for promotion of the event. There were commercials on WXXV that ran many times. We had a full-page ad in the South Mississippi Living, and I'm drawing a blank on a couple others. I know that I purchased an ad in the She Fly, and it was on there online, and that's very much visited by visitors who are looking to come to town, and that's how they keep up with events. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure you all were aware of that. So in addition to the City of Waveland, West Coast Tourism, and Visit Mississippi, the other sponsors were Kelly Cannon State Farm, South Group Insurance, Coastal Environmental, JEM, Chinichi Engineering, Compton Engineering, and Holly Raymond Properties. Anyway, it was very intentional when I set up the event that it spanned from Studio Waveland all the way to the town green, because I wanted people to be able to walk up and down Coleman Avenue. I wanted people to know that there was a town green and the museum and the bakery at the museum and then the Studio Waveland. And so we had children's things set up, a photographer set up. Anyway, Bernie Cullen worked at the museum on that day, and there were over 90, she told me the number, and I don't remember numbers well, but it was over 90 visitors went through the museum that day. And so that's over 90 people who now know that there's also a business located in the museum as well. And so that's kind of the idea of that, that's one of the main goals of the event. So that's why I'm asking for use of Coleman Avenue for Coleman Avenue Fall Fest 2023, October 14th, please.
Is it you or is it all about community?
Well, it's all about community. So I created a nonprofit to help with the mission of the nonprofit is to provide safe, healthy, community building events, such as Food Truck Friday, Waveland Veterans Parade, and then this as well.
What's the name of your nonprofit?
All About Community.
All about community, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Thank you, Mayor. Took a lot of thought.
Could we, as part of the motion, if you're inclined to approve this, to add that there would be a finding that will bring favorable notice to the resources and opportunities of the city? That's something we always should include in all festivals and authorizations.
I'll make a motion to approve that. I'll second it.
All right, any other discussion?
You'll include that finding?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll look for you, Kristen.
Thank you, Alderman Piazza.
All right,
She'll get
Thanks.
you a pen.
Ward 1, Mr. Burke.
I'll give you Post-its.
Yes.
Ward 2, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward 3, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward 4, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Kristen. All right, motion to approve a quote from Lewis Electric in the amount of $1,300 for the connection. Okay,
I'll second.
all right, and this is a T-pole, right, Jeremy? Or both?
Yes, Walpole is an addition to Nicholson Avenue for Christmas lights. Last
Okay.
year, we purchased over 100. So
I need another pole set at, I think it's Sonia, between where Mr. Martin house is. We're coming south
house
of his
is being
house,
built?
yes.
Is the pole gonna be removed after,
No,
when
it's
the lights
gonna
come
be,
down?
unless you wanted to remove it, that's gonna be something we're gonna do every year.
That's why I was wondering if it's gonna be removed or.
No, it would be there. There's already a pole there, so we're just gonna come south of it, maybe 2-3 foot, so the power will just drop right to it.
It's on that corner road,
No, it's right past Mr. Martin's house.
north?
Yeah, that way.
That's like that back.
I'm thinking that way.
I'm just wondering where it was gonna be, if it's gonna be
Yeah.
right next to a light pole, or if it's gonna be,
All right, Bob Martin is at the kind of Sonia. I think
Yep.
it's Sonia.
yep,
All right, there's an empty lot, then there's a big vacant lot where there's no trees, and right at that lot, there's a pole. It's right at the edge of 2 lots.
so we're sitting it right next to another pole that's already there.
Yeah.
I just didn't want it
By itself,
sticking
yeah.
out, in the
No.
middle of nowhere.
Can you put a mural on it? Never-
Anything you like to pay for, Mr. Burke.
All right, anything else? All right, we'll vote it then. Ward 1, Mr. Burke.
Burke, yes.
Ward 2, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward 3, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes,
And Ward 4, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, motion to approve invoice 3653 submitted by Mr. Lombardo.
Burke
Industries.
moves.
I'll
All right.
second.
Any discussion on 25?
Yes, I got some discussion. According to the contract with Mr. Lombardo, and with the grass not growing throughout the city, there's 4 cuts of the main drains that the main drain has. They're on the second one?
Yeah, they came down, the tracks, back here. They're on this side of the tracks, right?
So they are working on the main
Yes,
drains
sir.
again right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, because that's the question I was
South
getting.
of the tracks, are they around by Sears or Hickey Street?
No, if you look right here, you start here, that way. You hit
Okay.
Which Common did the one on Waveland Avenue. What's left is, I believe, is the OPD and rest of, Waveland Avenue back towards Aldermen Fontaine area.
Well,
So we
from,
gotta do, Maple Street yet? Or that's already done?
I have to check it out.
That's already been done.
well, from Old Spanish Trail to our
You talking about
city
right there
yard.
Right there off Maple.
off of Waveland Avenue?
Off Waveland Avenue.
Left-hand side, it's already been done.
From Old Spanish Trail
I got
to
a
our
picture
city
of that.
yard, I know it hasn't been done yet, and the only part that has been done on it was the part that we did ourselves, because we had to get access back there for some reason to dig something evidently. So this is the first cut of that particular area.
Yes, we did work for that.
So, what I'm saying, I know he's done a lot, but we're not gonna get 4 cuts on our right-of-ways per contract.
And,
I'm just making a statement.
I think it's
Okay.
just, yeah.
See, related discussion.
All right, anything else?
So I made the motion, who seconded it?
But his contract goes till April 3rd or April
3rd,
4th,
yeah.
I think it is.
I mean,
So,
it's gonna be,
so you know for sure you'll get at least 1,
Two.
maybe 2 by then, because it's full for the term of the contract.
Yep.
right.
So,
Who seconded the motion?
I did.
Yes, thank you.
All right, y'all ready to vote?
Burke, yes.
All right, Ward 2, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward 3, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward 4, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, 26, motion to approve invoice 22-002-00042.
Burke moves.
Okay,
I'll second.
all right, discussion on 26? Hearing none, we'll vote.
Burke,
Or-
yes.
Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward 3, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward 4, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
27, motion to approve invoice 22-002-00052.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion on 27? All right, hearing none, we'll vote. Ward 1, Mr. Burke.
Burke, yes.
Ward 2, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward 3, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward 4, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
Thank you. 28, motion to approve invoice 22-002-0025.
I'll move.
Okay,
I'll second.
all right, any discussion on 28? Hearing none, we'll vote. Ward 1, Mr. Burke.
Burke, yes.
Ward 2, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward 3, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward 4, Mr. Piazza.
Quick
Yes.
question. Can we
Okay.
go back to putting that on the consent agenda? Because we've had quite a few of these meetings since then, and they was pulled
Yeah.
off of the consent agenda because they needed discussion or something. We haven't
Yep.
discussed one since the last 2 months, 3 months they've
No.
been
I'll
pulled
go
off.
back to putting them on.
Yeah, I
Someone had
mean, if
requested
somebody
that.
wants to pull one off of a consent agenda, that's
Okay.
fine.
That's
You know, we
different,
can
yeah.
discuss it at that
sounds
time.
good.
I
I'll go
agree
back
with
and
that.
put them on there.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
motion
you.
passed, thank you. All right, motion to discuss the proposed renewal of healthcare reimbursement account.
I move for discussion.
Okay,
I'll second.
all right, discussion.
James Moody had asked me if you guys wanted to continue doing this. I know Kim had mentioned that it's not budgeted for, because I know there was some question about, if we could do it or not with all the cuts that we had and the options that were chosen. James spoke with his legal counsel with Cadence, and they said, yeah, it's fine if we wanna continue the healthcare reimbursement. So, but it was at your discretion, of course, you know, it would have to be a budget amendment.
Of
to
how
approve
much?
it. Well, right now, according to what James said, we're spending about $8,500 a year, but of course it would be a $40,000 amount we'd have to set aside in case everybody participated.
How much?
You know, 40,000, he said? Yes, sir.
That's,
Because
that's
some
it, that's if everybody
that-
made
yeah,
claims.
That
Right.
is, yeah, every employee would have to make a claim.
But on average, it's been less than $10,000.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So I just wasn't sure which way you guys wanted to turn before we do open enrollment.
Yeah, because it's not budgeted for, right?
No, sir, it's not,
Yeah.
no.
So so we're looking at 48,000
Well.
estimate for 23
No,
calendar
the-
budget.
40 max, huh?
40 max, yes, sir.
Shane, it would be, on average, it's like, she said 8,500 a year, so really what you're talking about is coming up with about $10,000. And where would that come from, Kim? Where would you propose it?
We have to come back from our reserves that we set aside.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Run that by me one more time, because the email I received says the estimated annual cost is 48,000.
Okay, then it's an increased amount then, because he said the other night that it would be 40,000.
This was from you, the 48.
Okay, that was the numbers that Pam gave me, okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's the worksheet that Pam did for me, so. Yeah, I was just going by what James had said, but yeah.
42.
48. Yeah, 48, I see it, yeah. So,
Because it's $500 a person.
$500 a person. Yeah, and then if they have a family member, if they include family members, they get an additional $500 healthcare reimbursement toward prescriptions.
If they pay dependent coverage.
Sure.
It depending
That's
cover,
covered, that's
yeah,
right.
definitely.
Well, they only put 2 on here with,
Yeah, we've only got
for
one.
spouse, 2 with
Mhm.
children, 2 with family, and 84
Mhm.
employees,
Yeah,
is what they estimated it at.
yes, sir.
So that wasn't the full total number of employees either.
No,
So-
it's only the people that,
So it could be higher
Correct.
if more enrolled.
right, that's
Right.
right, that's my understanding.
All right, anything else?
I mean, I think we need to make a decision.
All right,
Yes. Yeah. I need to know.
all right, we'll vote 29 then.
Well,
Ward
there's
1,
nothing to vote
oh, I'm
for.
sorry.
No, I mean,
Thought y'all was ready.
that's the
I
thing,
just-
I don't know what,
They need to make a motion of some sort.
I don't
I thought the
wanna,
motion
I don't
was
wanna
made.
handcuff a board to like, as it sounds, I wanna,
Well, I'll go ahead and say, I mean, I don't know where you're gonna find the 48,000
and I
from
think we
right
have
now.
the answers. Like,
I mean-
I think
I mean, I
that's,
think we all sit here and beat our heads against the walls on the budget enough that I don't know where you're gonna find it.
no, and I guess the deal is we were created enough to be able to keep
Yeah.
health insurance affordable for anybody. If this is the cut we have to make, this is the cut we have to make.
That's right.
So,
Now, is it, I know at this time I'm with Shane, but when it comes budget amendment time, I guess you have to do it by yearly, correct? You can't
That you have
That
to
would give
roll
you
it
a
by
6 month.
Open enrollment.
It would have to be during open enrollment, you just can't get in on this,
Right.
on this reimbursement
Yeah,
plan.
yeah, it comes during open enrollment, and we jump out of it this year, we can jump back in next year.
Yeah, I
if y'all
think we
want.
need to,
It's-
look at it
it's
next
your
year,
discretion.
in next year's budget.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll let James know.
So I guess the motion is not to do it. That's your decision?
Yeah, so we don't have to vote on anything.
Okay, all right.
Hang on one second before you do. I just wanna see, cause there's another list here with total employees.
It's $20,750.
It's an hourly contract, so it's a not to exceed.
All right, y'all ready to move on?
Yeah.
Did I word that correctly?
Yeah.
All right.
I was reading.
Motion to approve task order request number 222-033.004 from Compton Engineering in amount not to exceed $20,750 per hour for permitting services for proposed gas main bore on horizontal directional drilling methods beneath the Jordan River.
Burke moves.
Thank you.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion on 30?
I've talked to Mr. Escher about this, and we don't know that it's going to go up to that amount. The hope is we can avoid some of this with some planning on the permitting side. The surveying probably is gonna be what they estimated, but on the other side, we're hoping to save some money based upon what we get back and input from the DMR and Secretary of State and some others we have to go through. This is, of course, you know, the gas leak that we're talking about. Okay.
All right, anything else? All right, we'll vote. Ward 1, Mr. Burke.
Burke, yes.
I'm sorry, Ms. Rhonda? Get it?
$20,750 is a not to exceed amount, but it's an hourly contract. Yeah, it's not per, I think the mayor accidentally said per hour, but it's
Yeah.
hourly
Well,
contract.
it says hourly, so.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, well, I'm gonna go to
Yeah.
work for them.
yeah.
Thanks, Rhonda.
Yeah. Anything else?
That's the numbers from it.
All right.
Anything else, Rhonda? Okay.
All right, Ward 1, Mr. Burke.
Burke, yes.
Ward 2, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward 3, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward 4, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion to approve the following closeout documents for the Waveland Beach Handicap Access.
I'll move.
Burke seconds.
Okay, discussion on 31. Hearing none, we'll vote. Ward 1, Mr. Burke.
Burke, yes.
Ward 2, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward 3, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward 4, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
Thank you. Ready. Attorney's comments?
Yes, so if you recall at the previous meeting, I don't know if it was the one right before or before that, but we had made a motion to go ahead and approve a resolution for the sale of the property to Mr. Paul Trecray, for the lot over there on Market Street. It's a 97-foot lot. The law requires that we have two appraisals, and the average of the price of the two appraisals sets the sales price. I have it in here where we will, and I've located Ms. Camille McDonald to do one of the appraisals. She's from here in Hancock County. It's gonna cost $500 for her, and there'll be another appraiser that Mr. Paul has designated, and he will pay for that cost. So we'll come back with the two appraisals to set the final amount for the sale, but this is the process you follow under the state law. Okay? So I can read the resolution if you want, but it pretty much is all the stuff that you have to put in there from the state. I'll pass it on down. Tammy, if you'll pass these down to everybody, please. Yeah. Take a look at it. It's 2 pages. Ms. McDonald said that if we approve this tonight and she can get a purchase order tomorrow, she's hoping to have it ready by Tuesday of next week. So she's gonna move pretty quickly. She's actually allowing us to kind of jump ahead she has 4 other projects she's working on.
So what do you need from us, Malcolm?
Just to adopt this resolution. The highlights are that you're basically determining that it's surplus property and that it's not needed by the city, and that this will promote economic development, improvement throughout the city, and that we're going to use 2 appraisers using the process set forth by statute, and that the sales price will be the average of the 2 appraisals. That's what the state law requires, and that both the city and the buyer have the ability to cancel the transaction if they determine that the sales price determined by the appraisal process is not acceptable, in case it's too much. Yeah.
Or too little.
Or
Or too little, right. Yeah. That's right.
I'll make the motion
Okay.
Second.
to adopt the resolution,
All right,
or approve the resolution.
Right.
approved, all right. We'll vote that motion in. Ward 1, Mr. Burke.
Burke, yes.
Ward 2, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward 3, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward 4, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I will try to find out tomorrow just exactly when that well was put in.
Yeah.
Thank you.
be nice.
Because,
Okay, Ms. Karen, you can come up.
yeah.
The park on MLK, what's the status on the pipe thing first? 'Cause we had some people that wanted to rent it and we called, but every time we call, we can't get the ends on if it's fixed or if it's.
I don't know what you're talking about, so.
I don't
would you-
either.
There's a pipe burst? What is?
Is it inside the building or outside the building?
Wait a minute, hold on now.
I didn't hear anything about it.
I think it's an air conditioning issue.
Oh, well, it was just, we didn't know, it was closed, so maybe I misspoke or something, but there's something wrong over there.
It's probably the drain from the pan up top is, plugged and it's overflowing.
They got a sign say pipe.
Drain pipe.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a pipe is a pipe.
You're exactly right.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So, we'll get an update about it.
Yeah, cause
I'll
that's,
find out what's going
I'll
on.
get, yeah, we'll find out.
that's the first we was made aware of it.
If I might add, I spoke to Willie Moody about that a couple of days ago, because I saw the sign on the door. The water's cut off. The water's cut off to the building because there's a leak out, I believe, by the splash pad. But because of the plumbing, the water goes, they had to shut the water off to the building.
Oh,
The leak's not in the building. But
they need to cap it off. They need to cap it off so they can use the building. I got it.
Yeah, me too.
and it's been shut down for a while.
Wow.
There's a sign on the door.
Willie, will you go give it to my tomorrow?
It'll work.
I don't rent the place, so I didn't want the waters off. And I wasn't told about it. It would be fixed it by now.
He's not getting it operated.
It would most definitely be fixed already.
Before we,
Do we need
Yeah.
a executive session?
before,
No.
do we don't need, all right, before we adjourn, can I think we need to go ahead and vote on, the 29. I think we need to make a, motion to amend the agenda. And we can call it, what you wanna call it?
Vote to not
30
renew?
32B?
Which is what are we talking about, Shane?
The 8:30.
29, motion to discuss proposed, renewal of the healthcare reimbursement account and possible budget amendment.
Did you want to vote on that?
Well, I mean, all we did was just had a discussion, and I don't think
Right.
everybody never did really
Okay,
voice their one way or the other, so I just assume just go ahead and make a motion and call it for a vote.
okay.
So what do we want to make this as, number
32B, you
32B?
said?
All right,
And that would be the two.
I'd like to amend the agenda to add 32B, which would be a motion to, we'll call it a motion to approve, deny. All right, motion to deny the proposed renewal of the healthcare reimbursement account and possible budget amendment.
Okay.
All right, do I have a second?
I second.
Now, do we want to deny or do we want to approve it?
Well, we're gonna,
We don't have the money.
I don't know where we're gonna get the.
At
full
first,
details
this
of it, unless we
first
show
this is
where
a
the
motion to amend, right?
The first one's a
Yeah.
motion to amend the agenda.
All right, go
All
ahead.
right, Ward 1, Mr. Burke.
Burke, yes.
Ward 2, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
And Ward 3, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward 4, Mr. Piazza.
Piazza, yes?
So now the motion is to deny?
Motion to deny the, renewal of the healthcare reimbursement.
I'll
Okay,
second.
All right, we'll vote that motion in.
Burke, yes.
All right, Ward 2, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward 3, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward 4, Mr. Piazza.
Piazza, yes.
Thank you.
before we adjourn, I don't have any reason to go into closed session or executive session, but we may have a need to go into, to have a special meeting next week for a matter. So, I would like for you to, you don't have to tell me now, but if you could, just get back with, Tammy or the mayor and tell me kind of your availability in the middle of the week, possibly, maybe Wednesday or Thursday. I've got some information I'm waiting to finish getting, and once I have it, then we'll see if we have to have a need to come together. And we may need to do that before the last meeting of the month, you know, which
Yeah.
of course is the third Wednesday there.
I'm good
Okay.
any afternoon of the week.
Any afternoon
Any
next week?
afternoon of the week.
Everybody else?
Monday through Thursday, I'm good.
Okay,
Monday through Thursday.
Shane,
I gotta go look at my
He's
calendar.
looking.
Shane,
I'm looking,
I
I'm
think
looking.
he's looking.
Jeremy, you have any Bay St. Louis
To
stuff?
me, whatever's good with you.
I think I'm busy on, it would have to, it can't be Thursday, so probably,
Could not be Thursday.
no.
Okay.
So Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be ready for Monday, so it'll probably either be Tuesday or Wednesday. Wednesday's probably gonna be preferable.
better.
I'm good either day.
Yeah, Wednesday'd be preferable.
Yeah.
You good either day? All right.
All right, let's make it for
So
Wednesday
let's do
then.
this, let's temporarily, let's just go ahead and, rather than adjourn, we'll just recess to that night. Well, I guess we don't need to do that, we'll adjourn,
Just make
and
a
we'll do a
special
special meeting notice.
That's all.
Yeah. And I'll let y'all know.
Just anytime.
What day we doing it?
Sir?
What day we doing it?
Wednesday,
Probably
possibly Wednesday.
If he's ready Wednesday.
Okay.
Alright, so motion to adjourn?
All right, y'all
Wait,
ready?
Mr. Clarence
Mr. Clarence
had a
wants
point.
to
Oh,
say
I'm
something.
sorry, Mr. Clarence, I thought you already said something.
Real quick, I know we're late. Good evening, my name Clarence Harris, citizen of Waveland. Two things. On G with the $250, and on last, I don't know if it was last meeting or one of those meetings when I had brought that up. And then I got a call from Mr. Feigl the next day that I had some questions about it. But anyway, I see we still had it on here, and we brought it, and I mentioned in that meeting about us approving things like that before they happen. So I was surprised to see it on here, and then when Bobby took it off, you know, that you had some questions about it, but you paid one and didn't pay the other. So I was just bringing that up. The other thing I was gonna just mention was that I thought it was a good, a real good compliment or whatever for the city of Waveland, plus the mayor, ex-mayor, deceased, Mr. Tommy Longo, that they gave an award in his name through FEMA, and Mayor of Tuskegee received that award. So I thought that was a good thing, and I didn't know if the city would put a plaque of that award somewhere like in Ground Zero, or kind of mention that. But
Yeah,
that was a
love
good
to.
honor, and it says a lot about Waveland, and it's probably gonna go nation because it was in Tuskegee. And it
Right.
was an award that was done by FEMA, I think, after the hurricane.
That's cool.
So, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Clarence. I did. Never heard of it.
Burke moves to adjourn.
All right,
I'll second.
all right. Ward 3, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward 4, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
All right, thank y'all.
Just leave your red folder and I'll get on the line.
All right.
Because I'll update it.
Oh, okay.
Kylie,
Here, I'll get them in the morning.
would you take this from me? I don't need this.
No, I just, in case anybody calls and asks if they get any more or something.
We just go.
Did you get that resolution?
No.
Here, let me give it to you.
Thank you, sir. Lisa Morrison.
I'll go ahead and work on getting, whoever we gotta get consent from, either, is it Moran? over here?
We
Yeah,
got those.
we go to Waveland Avenue now, so Mikey Thompson is on Highway 90 South.
Oh, Mike Thompson that we have from Pastors, yeah?
He's gonna be ours.
I'll take care of him, yeah.
We got notice that we were getting 240-something thousand.
Yeah.
I'm doing fine, Mike.